Okay, good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and get our meeting going. Today is May 19th. This is our Board of Supervisors meeting. All Board of Supervisors are present. Staff is present. We'll go ahead and begin our meeting. Supervisor Holland, fresh back from his excursion, would you please lead us in the pledge?
All right. Hats off. Ready to begin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Huh?
All right, thank you, everyone. Okay. All right, you two, knock it off. All right, so our next item is going to be oral communications. I would like to remind everyone that we are within 100 feet of a polling station. There will be no electioneering. This includes buttons, pins, statements towards or against any any candidate who's running or a candidate who might be challenging a seat. With that being said, anybody wants to come up, they can talk. They have 3 minutes to speak on anything that is not on the agenda. There's a clock over my shoulder. It'll beep at 1 minute. Again, anything that is not on the agenda, you have 3 minutes. We ask you to be polite to the board. The board will be polite to you. We encourage respect for all of our speakers. So if you hear something you like, please don't clap. If you hear something you don't like, please don't boo. We want everyone to feel comfortable and confident coming to the board. So with that being said.
Good morning. My name is Christopher Butner, publisher of Calaveras.Watchdog.com. I investigate and report on public corruption in the core motherlode counties of Calaveras, Tuolumne, Mariposa, and Amador. Allegations concerning Tuolumne County District 3 Supervisor Kirk's public corruption are extensive and cannot be ignored, no matter how much he and his supporters wish to deny the facts and the
Mr.
truth.
Butner, I'm going to stop you 1 second.
Listen closely. Excuse me, an adult.
Please turn off his microphone until we have a
Listen
moment.
closely.
Thank you. Mr. Butner, if you please would stop speaking before we have an opportunity.
Sir, just hold for a moment. We'll give you the time. I think this chair would like to just let him run.
Okay. All right. If I would have the sheriff's deputy please remove him from this building.
No. Just let him run because he's just talking over us.
Okay.
He hasn't stopped, has he?
One of those alleged serious violations was Kirk's multiple confirmed instances of committing perjury on his legally required FPPC annual statement of economic interest. California Penal Code Section 118 defines the crime of perjury. Under this law, it is a felony to intentionally, willfully sign a declaration or affidavit under penalty of perjury knowing
It's still electioneering.
In addition, Kirk conceals several years
That's
of
fine.
income
We know that.
from the FPPC of his short-term vacation rental and wedding venue business. Kirk also concealed his 2025 real estate sales commissions from the FPPC. Arguably, the most egregious of the allegations concerns Kirk's blatant, persistent, illicit commingling of his private real estate listings with his public duties and constituent communication as district supervisor, appearing on his Anaya.Kirk Facebook page and public forum. On April 17, 2026, barely 1 day after having been notified by the FPPC Enforcement Division of serious allegations against him and having been provided with the evidence list of his deficient real estate listings, Kirk specifically used the evidence list as his roadmap to tamper with the evidence at a feverish pace. Kirk engaged in a crime spree of rapid evidence tampering, irrefutably demonstrating his consciousness of guilt after having just learned the previous day of being the subject of a sworn FPPC Enforcement Division complaint. Kirk committed 54 instances of evidence tampering. Each instance of evidence tampering is a misdemeanor. Misdemeanors are crimes. Kirk repeatedly violated the California Department of Real Estate regulation prohibiting blind advertising of his real estate listings on his Facebook account, a public forum used for constituents.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your attention to this matter. Have a nice day.
Please turn the microphone back on. Good morning.
Good morning, Board. Andy Carter with Tuolumne County Transit Agency and Transportation Council. A couple of fun and exciting updates from our team for you this morning. We're excited to continue our community outreach for the Tuolumne Heritage Trail, formerly known as the Gold Rush Path. We'll be hosting 2 outreach events later this month to give residents and our community an opportunity to learn more about the project, view some updated maps and concepts, and meet with our planners, our engineers, and the project team to answer any questions they might have. The first event will take place on Friday, May 29th at Coffeyville Park in downtown Sonora from 4 to 7 p.m. And the second will be on Saturday, May 30th at the Eagle Cottage at Columbia State Historic Park from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. These events are designed to be informal, interactive, and we'll hope they'll continue building our community involvement as the project moves forward. Second, I want to announce that our transit fares will be reintroduced starting on July 6th. Our system has operated fare-free since 2020, supported largely through temporary relief and grant funding. As those sources change, fares will need to return in order to support ongoing transit operations and maintain service reliability for riders throughout the county. We have started outreach and advertising to make sure riders understand these changes and what the new costs will be to ride the bus, as well as dial-a-ride, and that way they can be prepared ahead of time. We'll be getting information out to riders via flyers on the buses, social media, radio ads, and mentioning it wherever and anytime we can when we meet with partner organizations and do our community outreach. We also plan to start a fare donation program called Fare Forward that would allow someone to donate a fare for a rider who may need assistance. More information will be available once we have it as that program is finalized. Once again, the start date for fares coming back to the transit system will be July 6th. Third update's a quick one. We've also resumed our Saturday trolley service, and that's the route that runs from Columbia State Historic Park, the airport, and connects to the downtown farmers market. We're advertising that one on the buses, on our website, and we'll be promoting through social media as well. Information on the website is at tuolumnecountytransit.com. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chairman, just a note on the last speaker before. So what was the purpose for not hearing those comments? Because I didn't hear the gentleman's entire statement, so I missed a significant portion of it. So I didn't hear everything that was said, but I didn't hear any electioneering. Electioneering,
I'm going to defer to county council on this one.
Electioneering constitutes, well, it's clearly legally defined. I'm just frustrated because I have sat here and had people come up and say awful things to me, and you never said a word.
Hold on. Do you want me to answer?
One person comes up and says something slightly negative toward one of our board members, and you try to shut the meeting down.
No, the difference is that when they made those comments about you, the polls weren't open. Thank you for your opinion. Please be seated. The issue is that the poll is open. We can't have electioneering within 100 feet of the poll. Hold on.
Fair enough.
Right? So when those statements were made, by the way, I also offered you an opportunity to defend yourself during your board report after those attacks were made upon you. Same with Supervisor Brandon. You both refused. So with that being said, my point is that council is the one who said electioneering is not allowed within 100 feet. And by the way, when I brought Prop 50 forward, the first day of the election.
You are skirting the issue.
No, I'm not.
The issue is, what did the gentleman say?
It doesn't matter your opinion in this matter.
What did the gentleman say that you construed as electioneering?
It's what this county council has said.
Okay, well, what does county council say that this, because I didn't see the two of you communicate.
Well, first of all, now
I
is
have
not
the legal definitions of electioneering in front
but
of me.
now is not the time for this conversation.
I agree, it is not.
Okay, with that being said, we'll move on.
You've kind of forced the issue by denying this gentleman the ability to speak.
We will address this with county council at a later date.
Because I have the legal definition of electioneering. I didn't hear the gentleman's
I understand
entire
that,
statement.
but you're not an attorney.
From what I hear, I didn't see any of those.
Supervisor, I agree with you. I'm just going off of what county council has said.
I can just say that at that moment, I interpreted what the chair was doing to try and we were going to pause the time and remind the speaker not to stray off of just criticisms of the supervisor into anything that would constitute electioneering. Like you, straight negative comments about a supervisor that don't touch on the campaign or suggesting that somebody else ought to be in the spot, I would not interpret as electioneering either. But I interpret what was going on at this spot, and that the chair was trying to remind that person. That's why I offered to stop his time, but he didn't take it. He just kept talking over our attempt to do that. But I don't disagree with you that, unfortunately, in your position, as you know, the public has a right to come up and criticize what they think about you as politicians. It is, however, very complicated now with having the same entrance as the polling place. That puts us within 100 feet of the polling place. So if you cross over the line from just criticizing one of the supervisors who's running this time to saying, and you shouldn't be in office, or and we need somebody else in office, and you start getting into the campaigning, we have a forum that's recorded and broadcast out for people here. It's unfair to, it violates the law. And if we don't at least try to interpose that, we wouldn't be able to draw that line for anybody, whether they're saying something positive about a candidate or negative about a candidate. So this particular incident, I didn't see anything that was actually crossing that line yet, but I interpreted the chair's intervention to try and remind that person, because I think in the past there have been some things that have been said that do, or would if it were during the election time with the polls open. Does that help?
It's helpful. I mean, it would be helpful if we would understand what the legal definitions of electioneering are, so that the chair could be informed about the proper procedure.
We could provide you a memo of that.
I'm just shocked at the Johnny on the spot attitude with this particular issue, but not a word of the awful things that have been said from that podium to myself, other members of the board, including Supervisor Kirk, yourself, and there's been no intervention in the past, and yet now there's, I mean, you almost asked a deputy to have a gentleman removed.
For being disorderly. So by the way, so if you want to have this talk, let's have this talk. So when those individuals came up and said those things about you, your wife, the allegations, and all of those things, I offered you an opportunity to respond, and you said no.
This is a separate issue. You are
exactly,
conflating
but you've already blended it, because you keep saying, you
were conflating two issues that are.
Apparently, you don't understand the words coming out of your mouth today, because you are missing them.
The rules.
Okay. Well, we're done with this conversation. So let's get back to the 3 minutes.
Chair.
Supervisor Brandon.
And it's not meant to be for any discussion. I just wanted to note for the public record, I did not hear anything that was related to electioneering. I do think it's important we protect free speech at the board. I know this is critical speech. What I heard was critical speech at a sitting supervisor, not a candidate or campaign-related matter. I would just humbly recommend that we would restore the gentleman's time in line with council's understanding that this was paused. Because we did hear some of this, it was not for the audio record and the video record and anybody watching. So anyway.
Thank you.
I would agree with that, except for the fact that the individual wouldn't stop and listen to the warning. He just continued to talk and I would have ruled, was out of order at that point. So, it cuts both ways in terms of, I think it would have been completely appropriate to pause it if he was given another conversation, but he wasn't engaging.
I would recommend we risk losing 3 more minutes.
Noted. Ma'am,
Yes,
please give your 3 minutes.
thank you. Good morning, supervisors and everyone. Patricia Ray. Even an older, fairly shabby neighborhood is still a place where people live their lives full-time, and even lower-income people need safe air and water and reasonable surroundings. In my case, my rugged trail neighborhood has existed for over 60 years before the heavy industrial use was put next to it. Lately, we've gotten some interest in this dump issue, and I'm grateful for the folks showing an interest and offering some help. As I said before, it might sound merely like one or sometimes two wrinkled up, complaining little old ladies griping about any minuscule thing, but can potentially affect more than just 2 people in one place. Please get this dump out from among our homes, and also please don't locate something like it near anyone else's. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good
morning.
morning. Ree Anderson here. I want to thank especially Roger Root for being so persistent about researching the law, about researching ordinances at all levels to try and keep us as safe as possible, and also give us a wonderful environment to live in since October. But unfortunately, it's not over yet. The parcel, the disposal site on the parcel is not secure yet. It is not known what the plan is. It is not known what the current status is, other than what is on the Cal Recycle website. It is cited as an inactive solid waste disposal. I'll give you the verification too. So we need some more work done, and we appreciate all the people that have visited, people at home, you Board of Supervisors that have come, and we appreciate you trying to learn more about it too, that it's not just an irritating person that put in a dump. There's also many, many, many ordinance codes that forbid this thing from happening, starting with the county general plan. The state law says that if you're going to put a dump in somewhere, that you have to designate an area where that's supposed to happen. It is really taken care of at the highest levels. And those are not things that the county can override. It is okay, I guess, to interpret county civil law according to the county council, not you. Just want to clarify that. It is okay to not enforce county laws. And I don't think that's okay when it comes to public health and safety. That always is prioritized. So I appreciate your continued attention to this matter. And I really appreciate all the hard work. Again, Mr. Root has put in a ton of work to keep us so that we can stick our heads out the door and feel safe breathing. That's something that everybody should not have to worry about, especially in Tuolumne County. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Scott Fischler. I'm going to abbreviate my prepared comments to address what just occurred here. Mr. Griefer, Board Chair Griefer, was presented with an advance copy of Mr. Butner's statement, and he rejected it at the dais. He would not receive it. Had he received it, he could have reviewed it. He would have been aware of what Mr. Butner's comments were. They were not electioneering. They were as Supervisor Campbell stated. So it's on you.
No.
Yes, it is, sir.
Okay.
Last week I spoke here in support of Pat Ray, Ree Anderson, and their community regarding extreme environmental degradation, contamination, and noise abuse inflicted upon their Rugged Trail community adjacent to 18955 Industry Way. It's located in your supervisory district, Board Chair Griefer. Now, this situation exists as a direct result of Tuolumne County's negligence in allowing that operation of the unpermitted private solid waste landfill, including dump and cover of inorganic waste such as home demolition debris and incomprehensible dumping of asphalt that may in fact contain asbestos blowing into their neighborhood. There appears to be no disposal facility permits or supporting ordinance enforcements issued for this parcel in Industry Way. Feel free to correct me if I'm incorrect. I would appreciate that. It's been allowed by county indifference and negligence for several years to become a toxic wasteland adjacent to homes. I respect that Ree acknowledged Mr. Root and the efforts that he has been put forward. It's inadequate. It's grossly inadequate. Okay? Now, I spoke at this podium last week briefly. I spoke cordially with Board Chair Griefer. I don't know that we'll be speaking cordially much longer after today. I reminded you that 10 years ago I discovered the county had sprayed herbicides, 3 herbicides explicitly banned by the state of California along 128 miles of county roads to control weeds during the 2016 roadside spraying season. I was responsible for the ensuing state investigation, and the county stipulated to 5 fines in 2018. Now, the county appears to have learned very little from that experience, as evidenced by the number of years that this situation has been going on in Ree and Pat's neighborhood and impacting their neighbors. It's a flagrant environmental degradation. It's impacting their health. It's impacting their property values, and it must come to a conclusion. I'm here today. I was asked to support these good people, and that's why I'm here today, and I will continue to come
and support these good people. The county could have settled this matter long ago. Mr. Griefer indicated to me last week it was likely the courts would decide this matter, okay? I believe you're correct now, Steve. I actually do. These good people consulted with legal counsel on Friday. I observed last Friday on a site visit, one of the adjacent properties sustained approximately $200,000 in damages from polluted water runoff from the unpermitted private solid waste landfill. Shameful. It will not stand. I look at all of you and I ask all of you to get on this and fix this before it becomes a very expensive proposition for Tuolumne County. Thank you,
sir.
for your attention.
All right. Any other oral communications? Anyone else that wishes to come before the board? Seeing none, we'll move on to staff reports. Any staff reports?
Okay, that work? Okay, good morning.
Morning.
Christina Herrera with Agency Manager with Public Health. I'm excited to announce that the 2026 Community Resource Guide is now available. If you are unaware, the resource guide is designed to contain information on community health, social service, and civic resources, ideally resources that are free, available to low income, or Medi-Cal eligible. This year's guide contains updated contact information, a few new resources, and continues to feature the emergency preparedness guide in the back pages. So in case there's an emergency, they can look at what the different orders mean, a checklist, and emergency contact information on the back. The guide's available online to download as a PDF on the Tuolumne County Public Health website. For agencies interested in printed copies, we will have an interest form available later today on our website and social media pages. Once those forms are submitted by an agency, our office will contact you to coordinate pickup from our office. They will also be available at the Public Health front desk. I do want to note that we produce this guide as funding is available, and we only have about a third of what we had in our last print run. So we're trying to make sure that all of our agencies and community partners do get a number of print resources, but there is a limited number. We are working on acquiring funding to produce more and a mechanism for agencies who would like to pay for their own copies to order them through us. We also have QR codes and flyers that are available. I left a little card on your little seat over there if you'd like to access the code digitally, and we can provide those to agencies as well. I'd like to extend a huge thank you for the public health team for putting this together and finding all the typos and going through page by page over and over again. As a final reminder, 211 Tuolumne remains a resource 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for anyone that just dials 211 and is looking for help in Tuolumne County. That is also still available. If there's any questions, they're welcome to contact me at the public health office.
Thank you.
Good morning, Debbie Reagan, Assistant Director of Public Works. I'm wearing my solid waste hat today. Just to let you know that to date, we've issued 643 dump coupons, good for up to 2 cubic yards of waste at the solid waste at the transfer station. 248 green waste vouchers, good for up to 5 cubic yards. That's coming out of the 1,000-ton allowance we have with Cal Sierra. So I am finding that's an amazing program. Our redemption rate also, since they're good through the end of the year, is up somewhere in the 55 to 60% range. That's better than we've ever done before. We're seeing lots of tires and mattresses and such go through that, which means they're not on the side of the road. Still, if you have things in your house or you've already used that up, tomorrow at 17855 High School Road, the Greater Valley Conservation Corps will be out there collecting mattresses, tires, and e-waste. And I mean passenger tires, not big old construction tires, please. Off the rim, up to 40 inches, no more than 9 at a time. That's state law, not my law. They've moved there because we do that on the third Wednesday of every month now. Normally, that would be our household hazardous waste, but we had over 150 vehicles come through last Saturday for our May Saturday event. The other item is if you can't make it during that, GVCC is also going to be at the same location, 17855 High School Road, Saturday morning, probably 8 to noon, I believe. And they will also be collecting mattresses, tires, and e-waste under the tire amnesty grants that we administer. So no need to put them on the side of the road, bring them down there and we'll take care of it. That would be my solid waste updates. From the facility side, I have walked through multiple properties last Thursday with a contractor to work under cooperative purchasing agreements to get some of our capital projects buttoned up, tidied up, or get the cost estimates refined. So that's to come. We'll see where we go. 7 of those projects are currently funded either through grant or our existing budget. Another 4 of them we'll be bringing back to you as our wish list for capital projects next fiscal year. Thank you for your time.
Ma'am, question.
Yes.
So as you know, the weather's getting good. We're getting a lot of people firing up their pools. The question is, where can they dispose of old chemicals like chlorine tablets or things like that?
Oh, that's an easy one. Our household hazardous waste facility does accept old pool supplies. The next one will be on the 3rd Wednesday in June.
Okay.
And we do accept the old tabs, shock, all those sorts of chemicals at that facility.
Okay.
You call 533-5588, make an appointment for household hazardous waste. No appointment needed for the mattresses, tires, or e-waste.
Right. I think, I know the transfer station in Groveland, they won't take some of that stuff. So
Nope.
the question is, obviously, people want to do the right thing and not bury it in the ground, but they're also concerned of finding a place to dispose of it. So I will relay that to at least the South County.
Okay, and I will let you know that in August, on a Saturday, I don't have the date in front of me, every August, we come up to Big Oak Flat and we run a Saturday event at our road yard there for household hazardous waste. So people who might be in that area don't have to come all the way down the grade to here. So there's an option that will happen in August as well.
That's great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Now batting third.
Third? How about cleanup? Just kidding.
All right.
I
You got to get
guess-
someone else in front of you then.
I know. Well, good morning, Chairman Griefer, members of the board, Annie Hawk at Health and Human Services Agency. You may recall during the board workshop earlier this year that I spoke to you about the impacts of HR 1 and the uncertainty that we were facing as we awaited the governor's May revision. The May revise was released last week, and although our team is still working through some of the full details, I did want to take a moment this morning just to highlight some of the concerns that we're seeing, what that could mean for HHSA and for the county moving into next fiscal year. At a high level, the proposal includes an overall reduction in funding for CalFresh and Medi-Cal administration at the same time when workload and service demands are increasing. In other words, counties are being asked to do more with less, and that gap continues to widen. The governor's proposal does not address the indigent care concerns that we brought to this board. That issue remains unresolved, and counties are still left without a sustainable funding solution to meet the anticipated increase to counties' indigent care mandates. The May revise also contains proposed reductions to adult protective services. This is particularly concerning given the increase in our aging population locally. We're continuing to see significant need for this portion of our vulnerable community who now make up the fastest growing age group of our homeless population. Additionally, the governor's budget contains recommended changes to Medi-Cal eligibility for seniors and those with disabilities. The May revision includes further cost shifts from the state to the counties, continuing a trend that places more financial responsibility on local governments without providing corresponding funding necessary to administer these mandated programs effectively. There are still obviously many details to work through, but the overall direction of this proposal raises significant concerns about the long-term sustainability of county human service delivery. At this point, as I said, there's still some uncertainty surrounding both the final state budget and some potential federal actions that we are watching. However, the trajectory we are seeing today presents both operational and fiscal challenges statewide. We will continue to work closely with our state and county partners to advocate for sustainable funding solutions, and we'll come back to your board with updated information, analysis, and recommendations as more information becomes available. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other staff reports? All right. Oh, now hitting cleanup. He has to make an entrance, you know, Diva.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Dave Vasquez, Sheriff of Tuolumne County. I just wanted to share a couple of quick updates that I feel like summer's here a little bit early, and we are starting to get the rise in our population. We're seeing rise in our call volume. In just about all facets. So wouldn't miss this opportunity to just extend my sincerest gratitude to our patrol division and all of our partners, California Highway Patrol and Sonora Police Department, where we all leveraging each other's support as we navigate the influx of the population, which naturally brings an increase for call volume. A big thank you to our dispatch, who has been outstanding partners in absorbing that call volume for all of our partner agencies as well. I would like just to share, I heard our Health and Human Services Director speak about challenges that are coming down from the state and funding. And so it's important to highlight things that your local elected officials and other department heads are doing to combat that, to be strategic, so we are shaping the future as it approaches us and not just waiting to react. On the CCP, which you hear us talk about quite a bit, the Community Corrections Partnership, there's like a governing committee that votes and supports different aspects of funding that come through those special department revenues. In that team is myself, the district attorney, presiding judge, police chief, public defender, probation, and I believe our behavioral health director as well. We had some tough decisions that came up, but we decided to reinvent ourselves in what reentry services look like. Couldn't be done without the strong partnership of all those individuals involved. Just in short, we were contracting services out to a company that we will no longer be contracting services and providing those services in-house through a collaborative effort of all of those folks that I just listed off in that partnership with CCP, ultimately saving us over $1 million over the course of the next 3 years, maybe 4 years. I highlight that because it's important. Oftentimes I'll come up here around budget time and talk about local control and maintaining local control over the local dollars. I think this is all part of the big vision of what we are trying to accomplish by maximizing resources and utilizing the staff that we have who are doing an outstanding job. What that ultimately means is that they are taking on a little bit of labor, and there are some opportunities that allow us to address what that compensation looks like, but I think we can really focus on that consequential knowledge that we have solid people throughout our organization that are vision-oriented and are buying into what we're doing by maintaining that local control. Proud to work with our partners. I know we heard Health and Human Services. We are not blind to the challenges that we have coming forth, and we have been in talks about how we can help each other and leverage partnerships. So I feel positive that we will have some good news coming forward and how we can help as county partners across the whole organization. I want to talk about a TNT case, a Tuolumne Narcotics Team case that you may have seen a press release on. If you hadn't seen that yet or hadn't read the text, there was an arrest and a case that was being worked where we ultimately effected an arrest of an 18-year-old individual who was selling drugs and also leveraging other juvenile individuals who were not of 18 years of age to target drug dealers or to target drug-specific crimes in dealing to school-age children down to the age of 12 years old. This is drugs associated with not just nicotine or tobacco and mushrooms and marijuana, but also LSD and MDMA, are also known as ecstasy. I want everybody to just kind of reflect on that this isn't something new. This is something that's been going on. This is something that is now proven that we have within our school-age children down to the age of 12. That's young. Some people, I know we monitor our social media feed and what we get, and some people marginalize the effects of tobacco and marijuana being in the schools or in school-age children. I can't disagree more. I don't think that it's anything that should be marginalized. Adults that want to participate in recreational drug use, that's their decision. Obviously, if it violates the law, we will be there to bring accountability. But school-age children that haven't even had a chance yet to be having that type of exposure in individuals who are infiltrating that area of our youth is simply unacceptable. We will continue to pursue those individuals who are making a business model off of our children. And again, a big thank you to the Tuolumne Narcotics Team and those folks who are continuously battling that out, that never-ending, what seems like a fight against people who want to make money off of kids and also the people in our community who are struggling with addiction. Big thank you to our court campus security team, who is doing a phenomenal job with Camp Justice and working with our partners as well to ensure that we ensure sustainability to those programs. We look forward to a bright future, and I think that there's a lot that we have to look forward to moving forward. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to make sure that all the staff and all of our partners know that we greatly appreciate where we're going and their assistance in that endeavor. Thank you.
Sheriff, the only thing I'd like to add
Yes.
is that I was over at Camp Justice last week, speaking to an individual there, and they are not Leo friendly. They had some issues in their past with law enforcement, but they feel very safe and that your staff is there. And so big kudos that goes out to your staff for, as you know, part of that is recovery is safety, and that people feel that their stuff's not going to be stolen or they're not going to be a victim, and they just know that, every time a black and white drives by now, it's not, that they're in trouble, but that you are providing a service. So they asked me to relay that to you when I saw you, and here we are.
I really appreciate that, Supervisor. And again, it takes the whole team. And if I didn't highlight them enough, our probation department does a great job. I know they're out there talking with individuals, providing services as well. Their high-risk supervision team is always out. They're hitting the concrete just like we are. And really making a difference in bringing accountability to those areas where it's needed, and with a compassionate hand as well.
Kudos where kudos goes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other staff reports? Seeing none, we'll go to board reports. Freshly back from his whirlwind tour, do you have anything to say?
Sure, I got a couple. First of all, I'll thank the sheriff for creating general fund relief. That becomes important later when we talk about negotiations, funding roads, funding all this stuff. The more money we can get funded outside frees up more money in the general fund. That's what that point is. I think you saw that in instead of doing an outside contract, we're going to bring that in-house, ultimately saving the people money, ultimately giving us more flexibility in our program. So thank you very much for that. A couple of things. So I attended the NACO Western Regional Conference, so it's mostly the 17 Western states. They had it this year. As you can see, I'm wearing an Aloha shirt. They had it over in Kaanapali in Maui. And so I learned quite a few things while we were there. And so if some of you guys might know, a couple of years ago, Lahaina burned down their town, which is kind of similar to like Chinese camp, what we had here. But obviously, they've gone through this process, much different than Chinese camp. They lost, I think, about 109 individuals died in that fire. Most entire town is wiped off the map. Very interesting about how it happened. They actually made a movie called Lahaina Rising that is coming out. They gave us a preview of it. And most of the entire film is actual people's cell phone footage of what was going on there. So it's not like it's not like, oh, I heard this happening. It's actually, you actually get to see videos of the actual fire moving towards people and them running and stuff like that. And they did some animation too about how the fire spread and what was driving it. Basically high winds, which is very similar to what happened here. And also no water. Their water stopped working. Somebody, I guess, shut the valve off or something happened, whatever happened there. And so that's why the fire got so bad. And so they had a lot of individuals literally just jumping in the ocean to survive and just floating out there for 12 hours until they could come get them. Luckily, it's the salt water and you float very well in there. So some of the stuff that came out of there, which I thought we could bring back here, was they had talked about after that happened, one of the major things is it's hard for it to communicate because communication lines get damaged. And what they found was, and this was like a couple of weeks into the thing, was Starlink reached out to them and said you can buy the Starlink packages and you basically don't have to pay for them until there's an emergency, and then you deploy them and they give like a little hub for internet. And the people were talking about, you don't realize how important that is until all of a sudden you have no communication, especially in today's world. You can't call, you can't text, you can't find out what's happening. And if you've ever been to Maui, it's kind of cut off on the west side. I mean, once they have the roads kind of shut off, and they had it shut off because obviously they have a crime scene with 100-some victims in there, and they have to sort through all that. And so just getting food, all the basic necessities there. And so I think that's something that maybe we should look into. We could get maybe a couple of these. I think the systems themselves are a few $100s to buy, and you basically just set them in storage until you need them, and then they're activated through some program they have, like an emergency Starlink program, and then we just pay the fee, which is nominal. But, they might be important to have here, but it's always one of those things like you don't know we need them until it goes sideways, and then it'd be nice to have them. So something came out of there. The other thing that kind of came out of there, they also talked about water rights. And part of the problem there is why the water got shut off was, and I'm sure Hetchechi's going to send me a few evil emails over this, but just like here, many of us know that huge amount of our water is shipped out of our county down to San Francisco in the Bay Area through about a 17-foot diameter pipe. They have a very similar thing that goes on there on the west side of Maui, is way up in the mountains where it rains all the time. The water is then diverted and pumped further up to the resorts, and they used to use it for the pineapple and sugar plantations. So 100 years ago, kind of like Hetch Hetchy and the water rights there. They're actually actively working on getting the water rights actually undone and brought back, because they have old documentation of what that side of the island looked like before the water started moving around. And so I think, and I don't know if they necessarily want the water rights totally unchanged, but they want the ownership to help contribute money to help offset costs involved in that. And so that, I think, applies to our county, because I mean, obviously a huge resource of ours, which is water, is shipped down the Bay Area. Maybe there's something they could do to help for us, would be like forest thinning projects, other stuff like that, to where, because they're getting the benefit of that resource, and if we maintain the forest, it's actually cleaner, healthier water. I know it's something Supervisor Kirk is working on through our other project, Natural Resource Committee, to prove that. And so maybe that's something they'd come to the table voluntarily and say, hey, look, how can we help Power be part of the solution? Because it will be very interesting when that case gets resolved. It could have huge effects of what happens with senior water rights and stuff like that, how that plays out over there. So that was an interesting thing I learned over there that was going on. And of course, that could take, I don't know how long the attorneys could answer. A case like this might take, I might be dead by that time. So, the other thing, I know Jaron will be very interested in this, is they really embrace, because of the lack of housing that got lost, are these small homes, tiny home villages. And I actually went and toured some of them. They were quite amazing what they popped up. I mean, it was just out of the box thinking, really done well and cleanly. Like, I brought back some pictures. I know how much you guys love when I do slideshows. I should have brought them back for a slideshow, but I'll get them out there. And so, really well thought of. I mean, as far as like in a pinch of how they did these and what a difference it's making. It's giving people a place to live until time comes up, but that could actually apply. I thought about this, like just our housing problem in general. So they look like most of them like 2-bedroom, 2 baths. I mean, we're not talking McMansions or anything like that. And they actually set them up on little tiny concrete, because they did them on a hill. If you've been to Maui, it's on the side of a volcano, so it's a hill, which is what we have here. And so these little concrete blocks. And so the houses sit level where you come up, and then it sits on a hill. So, and everything's graveled around it, so it's kept very clean and well done. So we could take maybe some of that information there that they did. And the other thing is they got in these container homes. So it seemed like they're kind of leading the way, and we could take some knowledge from what they've done out of necessity and really apply it to maybe some of our housing problems here and look at some different ideas. I mean, obviously that'd have to go through our building and some other stuff, but really, I think Maui or Hawaii in general is very similar to California, except for the gas is cheaper there, just to note that, which is hilarious. That they have very stringent rules on stuff like we do here, but they looked at that and said, how can we get around this, or how do we say, this is ridiculous, but we have a need, and how do we achieve that? And I think maybe we look into, for our county at least, how we could do that. Because I think it'd provide a great housing possibility for people that need it, and it's good for the county. So let's see, what else? That Starlink, Lahaina Rising. Okay, so about that sums most of that stuff up over there. It was really good. Made some good contacts over there that I'll reach out to get some more information about if we want to pursue this as a board, these conversations or not. We could look into that stuff. So second or third maybe is, you guys see the map behind me? So if you don't know what that is the plan that the county had prepared for the Miners Motel. And so if you look at it, the rooms didn't change. And the reason why I have that up there is for a reason. I attended the dinner and all this other stuff. But they basically take our floor plan. They're not changing the hotel rooms, except for the fact they're adding these little tiny kitchens. So think about the size of an old motel room, and you're going to fit a little tiny kitchen in there. You're talking like 2 burners, the college-sized refrigerator, which is about 3 feet tall or whatever. Just basic necessities. And I brought this up before, and hopefully Jaron will join me on this or know more about this, that JSD charged Habitat $200,000 for sewer hookups. And I keep bringing this up because I think it's ridiculous, because they're not housing any more people in that hotel than it was or a motel, than when it was a motel. And when the county took it over, we continued to pay the bill. We never stopped service. We never interrupted anything. So there's no more capacity going on. But somehow, because of their financial needs, they're basically, I'm going to say it this way, bilking a nonprofit, which I know we're donating some of that money to offset that. But it's really just kind of a shame that that's what's going on down there. And I'm hoping that people have conversation with them why, because I've never heard an explanation of why they're charging $200,000 for an already existing service down there. And I'm hoping maybe a Duke York or somebody will show up here and answer why they did that. Because to me, I just think that's shameful when Habitat does great things for our community. They're really doing us a favor as a board by taking that off our hands and basically keeping us out of trouble with the state with the grant. I mean, most people don't realize that, but we would have got ourselves blacklisted because of the fact that that project would not got done in time, and they're challenging that. So I'm hoping we get an answer to that. Maybe they will see it in their hearts to give them some relief, that they can spend that money in improving the place instead of just going to a fee that was paid a long time ago, and that we continue that service. So that's kind of really all I got. And then, my wife asked me to ask something which I never bring up, but I guess there's something going on that they're looking for some information about a possible hit and run up in Twainhart. So if anybody knows anything, I guess it's on social media. I don't do social media, but whatever that's all about. So anyways, that's all I got.
All right.
Thanks.
You said more now than you did the entire time you've been up here, so. All right, with that being said, he teed you up quite nicely, so I will skip and let you go.
I didn't even know what he sounded like last 2 years.
We all thought he was a Marinette, right?
Yeah. And I appreciate, thank you for going to NACO. There may be some folks out there that say, why are we flying around to do it? We don't get a traditional book to go learn how to do this. We don't know exactly everything that's happening around. I know I went out to it was Austin and was able to see Loaves and Fishes Village, which is a tiny home nonprofit combination of concrete printed houses, small modular units, small stick-built units. They have a job center, an e-commerce center. So not only can you go paint or make art or make supplies, but also be able to do shipping and make a label and be able to have a post office that you can submit it. It was an amazing effort. I learned about how their zoning practices in unincorporated county areas, they don't have zoning. They do it based on a lot of the water, slope, other things, but they really only do specific zone limitations within the city, which I think is very, very interesting. So thank you for going to that. That is incredibly important. Anybody who says, why are we spending money on that? It's so that we find a really great idea and we bring it back. And we've used that to Tuolumne County's benefit over the past several years, multiple times. And one of the things I heard as well from the Land and Power, just to kind of key up off that too, was that with their electricity system, they had very high winds and some of these lines were energized. And so on the one hand, this was always the comparison with PG&E, where we see our power go out constantly. And I think we understand that the role is safety, but maybe it's oversensitive and more maintenance needs to be done to beyond a temporary fix. Here's the other side where the power isn't shut off on those lines and a line falls down and it causes a fire start. Which was huge there. And then having all of your emergency infrastructure be based on that grid, so they're hesitant to turn off that emergency infrastructure. One of the things we've talked about up here for the past couple of years and before that has been backup generators at public safety facilities. We've had fire stations that don't have backup generators. So when the power goes out, the fire station doesn't work very well. That is a huge concern, as you can imagine. We have a lot of public safety facilities. So only wanted to say that according to the staff report and everything that came back, Miners Motel was on track and on budget. I do appreciate the partnership with Habitat, though, because that was always my desire to see a third-party manager of that, too. And I agree. It seems an unnecessary fee that is unfortunately on there, and I'm very interested in, I think, as always, the tiny home conversation, because that is organically building affordable housing within our community, especially if you can figure out small lot ownership, even if it is, some ridiculous thing like 1/10 of an acre. It is something that actually allows you to build some net worth, but paying rental prices. It's not going to buy you a house, but it might sell at an amount to get you a down payment. Other than that, it's been taking calls, community events, and I got to see car number 22, the Calaveras frog jump, get its butt handed to it and thrown over the railing, which was really interesting. So it was great to go see some of our friends over the river.
All right, thank you. Supervisor Campbell. Supervisor Kirk.
All right. A few things. As we all know, Highway 108 opened up probably one of the earliest times on record. Most of that was because of the dry winter that we experienced, but also Caltrans. For the last 6 years, I've been having meetings. Usually it starts with Caltrans around November, December to talk about 108 opening up early. We all know it's a lifeline for the 108 corridor. Really, I mean, even if you go down to local collective down here in Sonora, they feel the switch go on when the pass opens. So it opened Kennedy Meadows Mother's Day weekend. They had a record amount of tourists at their resort. Sold, I think, over 500 dinners in a night. So it literally, the amount of business that is lost between January through March, you can make up in an early opening like this in a couple weeks. So it's incredible. Hopefully SB 32 will pass and we can hopefully make May 1st kind of the new benchmark. I think the benchmark right now is May 12th on average, but if we can bump that up even just a few weeks, it's going to be huge for our entire community. The other thing, Natural Resources Committee, Mike, I know you were gone, but I don't think you were on the board. I presented something to Natural Resources Committee and it went to the Firewise Committee and then got shut down. But it was the idea a couple years ago about using our trail systems or our U.S. Forest Service roads that have been neglected to get those back up and operating so that we can use it for mountain biking or motorcycle riding. But then also if a fire comes, bam, immediately it's a fuel break. Okay, so that was the genesis of it. It didn't go anywhere. Well, all of a sudden, it turns out there's other communities who are doing it, such as Mammoth. Now, Mammoth is a different community. It's much smaller, but they're basically taking roads and trails and doing it for economic purposes, for tourism purposes, but then they're turning into fuel breaks. So it got brought. We had a great presentation at the Natural Resources Committee. We adopted it. We're going to present it to the board eventually. I do think and the key piece, the reason why it's going to be a good thing, I think, for Tuolumne County is because there's funding connected to it. It's really hard to do fuel breaks or to reopen those trails or those roads, but when there's grant monies connected to it, that's where we get the thumbs up. So that's going to come before our board in the near future. I think it's a good thing to entertain. Real quick, I think absolutely, Mike, let's put something on the agenda for Starlink. Yes, the natural resources of water, that is what the Water Smart Grant is. I won't go into detail, but that's literally what it is to get Hetch Hetchy, Tridam people downstream to pay a very small percentage to maintain these fuel breaks so that they get more water, more cleaner water. I've been hearing about this tiny house conversation literally since I got into office. I think hopefully at some point we can actually, we've had the general plan amendment, we've had Title 17, we've had conversations about lot sizes. I think it's a go. My question to you, I think we should have a conversation, put it on the agenda, because I'm assuming that probably the government got involved when was building those things, and I think that's usually where the conversation is at ender here, is like we got to get the private folks to come in. I was just actually talking to Somerville High kids, and one of their main concerns was how do we live in the community that we grew up as, and we can't afford it. And we had a great conversation, but that kind of just makes me think, we don't need government building housing, but if we can make it so that these private folks can come in and build these communities, I mean, that's going to be a lifeline for these young kids coming up to get started. So, again, I think as a board, we can actually get this conversation from conversation to maybe further down the road. But I've been hearing about it for 8 years, so I'm hopeful. But anyways, and then the last thing is, why don't we get the Jamestown Sanitary District in front of the board? Like, this is ridiculous. If we talk about housing and affordability, we get crucified for talking about mobile home and a small increase, and yet we got a sanitary district jacking up a $200,000 price when we're trying to get veterans and people who need services into this housing. It doesn't make sense. So I'm going to put it on Facebook today. I think we should ask that they come before the board, not to get ramrodded, but just really have a conversation like, why? We're a community. We're trying to help low income. We're trying to help these veterans out. Why are we doing this to nonprofits who are doing good things? That would be my 2 cents. So thankful that we have the opportunities to do these board reports. I think we should do it more often. Good old Brown Act doesn't let us talk. So.
All right. Yes.
This is only the smallest note, and it's not targeted at anything specific here. We have recently set a series of priorities. I know we have ideas that come up, and that's a healthy thing. I am just concerned where we may have separate ideas, staff time, and committees working on stuff that isn't clearly identified into the priority list. So I just wanted to leave it at that, for example, with JSD or the partnership, I did recommend that as one of the priorities. We did not choose to move forward kind of on that effort. That was at least recommended. Some of these things actually I agree with, they're not on there. And I'm concerned with where our staffing's at, that we may end up chasing stuff and bring it to the board that then takes time of some of the stuff we've agreed on.
And with that being said, I believe our procedure is that if we want to bring something like that forward, it would go on the agenda for consideration, and if the majority wants to move it forward, then we could do that. So I think that's a good mechanism for do that. So maybe we can.
Yeah. And I think
the issue is where time's put in before it comes to the board too.
I'm not disagreeing with you, right? But that's the genesis of why we do that, is because one of us or a board member, past or current, might go to board staff and say, "Hey, I want you to do all of this and work on a big presentation," and then it takes away from the mission. So we're saying the same thing. I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Well, I was just going to say, it's one thing to have a conversation, but at the end of the day, it kind of falls into housing, because it just makes housing harder when you have a $200,000 hookup. I mean, that could literally, I don't know what their finances are, but that could postpone them in time to get this operation up and running.
To be fair to them, I don't know how they came up with that number or why they're charging. That's why I'm asking the questions, because it doesn't seem
But
like
I'm saying on the
anybody
back
really
end, the
knows.
housing, if they got to flip a $200,000 bill, is that going to postpone them by 6
And I
months?
should say, I don't mean it specifically. It was more on, for example, the trails. I know we've discussed a master trails recreation plan to kind of have these and then adopt it. We, again, didn't put that on the priority list. I've seen Mariposa work on that. I think it's a really good idea. But if it's developed and worked on and a lot of time's put in, and then it comes to the board, I think that's kind of backwards. I would rather see that be a request to come to the board to amend our priorities. If a majority says yes, we add it to the priorities with the context of the other priorities, and then it goes to the committee to develop. We only have a handful of committees, but where they're kind of working on an independent project, and it's not to say it's bad. I actually really like the idea. I've recommended the Master Parks and Trail Plan as a planning document. I just don't want a ton of time into it or staff being asked to work on it, and then it comes to us. I'd rather it come to us and then go to the committee to be developed.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea.
I think
Sure,
we're all saying
and
the same.
And I think it falls under our number one priority, which is public safety. And that's why we need to have the conversation. If it fits and it makes sense and there's grant monies and there's a position that comes with it, it'll be a no-brainer. If it's going to be a bunch of more work with what we currently have, I think that's where we'll have issues. But yeah, it's just the way government works. Sometimes we have our priorities, but then important things come up. And I think that's why we try to be really cautious about only having, a list of 5 priorities, because we know things are going to come up. But
All right.
we'll talk more about it.
We'll talk later.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you. All right. We'll go to the consent calendar. Does any of this board members wish to pull any items?
Yes, Chair, I'd like to pull item it moved. Yes, item 6.
You wish to pull item 6?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. All right. So at this point, we will go ahead and discuss the consent calendar, all items but item number 6. I'll open it up to public comment. All items except for item number 6.
Morning, Supervisors. My name is Ryan Reese. I'm the Director at Don Pedro Recreation Agency and the Chair at Visit Tuolumne County. I'm here today in place of our President and CEO, Lisa Mayo. She's traveling for work right now, so I was asked to come here in front of you guys today. Just want to say thank you to the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors for recognizing the important role tourism plays in our community. We are fortunate to live and work in such a remarkable place, one where visitors choose to spend their valuable vacation time. As you know, tourism is a key driver of our local economy, bringing in revenue through travel spending, including transient occupancy tax and sales taxes. This spending supports local families and helps sustain the businesses we all value, from restaurants and retail to attractions and lodging. In 2025, transient occupancy tax, also known as TOT, contributed nearly $10 million to the county general fund, helping support essential services such as public safety, roads, and libraries. Continue to reinvest in a portion of TOT funds back to Visit Tuolumne County, strengthens tourism, and helps grow the important source of revenue for the county. As we celebrate California Tourism Month, it is the perfect time to acknowledge and thank our many stakeholders, including you, our Board of Supervisors. We deeply appreciate the partnership we have shared with you over the past 43 years. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your continued support.
Thank you. All right, anyone else for any item other than number 6? He was going to hip check you on the way up, right? You see that?
Got a lot of things. Good
morning.
morning, Chairman and members of the board. I am Katie Andrews, the Tuolumne County Emergency Medical Services Administrator. I am here today to welcome you to EMS Week 2026, where we proudly honor the EMS professionals and emergency response partners who serve Tuolumne County residents and visitors every day with skill, compassion, and dedication. This year's theme, Improving Outcomes Together, reflects something everyone in emergency services understands. None of us do this job alone. Positive outcomes happen because people work together. Dispatchers, fire personnel, EMTs, paramedics, nurses, physicians, law enforcement, air medical crews, emergency managers, public health, and support staff all play a role in ensuring patients receive the best possible care. It is difficult to talk about improving outcomes without recognizing the entire system and all the people who make it work. But this week, I especially want to recognize those who choose EMS because they genuinely care about helping people. The ones who continue to show up on difficult days, long nights, holidays, disasters, and emergencies because service to others matters to them. Reflecting on this year's theme, I considered all of the improvements that have been made within Tuolumne County's EMS system in the last few years. After years of work, the implementation of ambulance computer-aided dispatch system has improved coordination across agencies, with continued improvements being made almost daily. Our community also celebrated the addition of the ST Elevation Myocardial Infarction Center, or STEMI Receiving Center, allowing patients experiencing severe heart attacks to receive life-saving cardiac care closer to home, and improving access to timely treatment for our residents and visitors. This past year, our EMS system has been committed to mass casualty incident training across the county. Through multiple tabletop exercises and approximately 20 countywide drills involving dispatch first responders, hospitals, EMS personnel, and partner agencies, we return to the fundamentals of how we respond when the system is overwhelmed. Responses to these incidents are not like day-to-day emergency calls. Resources become limited, conditions rapidly change, and difficult decisions must be made in order to do the greatest good for the greatest number of patients. These exercises have strengthened coordination, communication, and preparedness throughout the county and have demonstrated our willingness to learn, adapt, and improve together. One thing that makes EMS unique is that we are always working to improve. Sometimes those changes are large and visible, and sometimes they are small adjustments made after difficult calls, a training, or a conversation between partners. Whether it is improving communication, refining response plans, or strengthening coordination between agencies, the goal is always the same: provide the best care and outcomes for our patients.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'd just like to second those comments, and Katie did a fantastic job highlighting some very much deserved recognition for this week in emergency medical services. They make up about 30% of our entire call volume, so those people are absolutely hustling and working for the people. I couldn't possibly extend my sincerest gratitude anymore, and so I echo those comments. I just wanted to comment also on item 5, specifically related to the California Advancing and Innovating CalAIMS program, providing access to health, also known as a PATH grant. Big thank you to my jail commander who applied for this grant and received it, and we are hopeful that you will obviously be approving the receipt of those funds. And I just found it necessary to signal our intent that when we do encumber those funds, we plan on augmenting our existing medical contract, which essentially creates relief to the ongoing increased medical expenses that we see associated with inmate health care. Outside of that, again, a big thank you to all the staff that went into applying for this grant, and we look forward to implementing that so we can bring some much-needed relief to the existing contract. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Supervisors. I would just like to say my name is Mark Brooks, and my favorite district is District 2. As we're thanking emergency services, I'd just like to say thank you to Manteca District Ambulance for their 40 years of service. And it's sad to see them go, but as we transition to this new service, we really need to pay attention to what's happening around us. As before, I mentioned that Mike Holland needs to be on the dispatch steering committee to pay attention to what's going on in our community. We have ambulances that are backlogged 2 years, and we need to get them in town because we have a lot of ambulances breaking down. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. No other public comment. I'll bring it back to the board. We'll start at the other end. Supervisor Kirk, any comments, questions?
Yeah, real quick on the comments. Number 3, thank you, Dr. Freeman, Annie, and Katie, for all the work you've done in EMS. It's an extremely tough job and doesn't pay what it should, but I appreciate the staff who are there because it takes a certain type of person to do that work. Wanted to comment real quick on the National Tourism Week. Our TOT is up 9.8 million, not up 9.8, but up to 9.8 million, 25.2 million in sales tax, and over 300 million in revenue, about 4,000 jobs associated with it. And I think I think next year, if things were to stay as is, with the pass opening up early, I think you'd see that TOT even go up a handful. So those are great numbers, and it continues every year over year. And the last thing is just thank the sheriff. You always are working on ways to give general fund relief, and I appreciate that. That's it.
All right, thank you, Supervisor Campbell.
Nothing to add. I agree with the comments about our emergency medical services providers, and thank them for their work and for being here. And good to highlight the important work that they do.
Well, thank you. Supervisor Brandon, nothing? Supervisor Holland?
Thank you guys for your comments. I will disagree with Mr. Brooks that the favorite district should be number 1 and the best one in the county. That's all.
You know, of course, I got to say 4 is the best now. So, all right. But with that being said,
I don't know. I thought he was pretty on the mark with that.
Yeah, somehow I thought you might say that, sir. Yeah. All right. With that being said, as you know, I'd like to have everyone who's associated in the medical services, whether you are an ambulance driver or you are a medic or you are a law enforcement or you are mental health or you're in the doctors, because everything you guys do together provides this service to our community. So if I could have you all stand up so I can embarrass you, please. And you guys in tan, you too, come on. Come on, Sheriff, get your guys up there. All right. All right. Thank you. I'm not sure if Neil stood. I can't tell the difference. So I like doing this because, one, I want you to know that I see you, I appreciate you, I value you. I will rarely am I going to speak for my entire board here, but I believe we all feel the same, that without your services, without what you do, whether it's that accident on the road or that mental health call that the sheriffs get, or it's the doctor for the county looking out for the next upcoming bad drug that's coming our way, or it's HHSA that's finding ways to provide services to whomever, it all works together, and without you guys there, the system breaks, and we just can't have that. So from my deepest heart, and I'm sure the board feels the same, thank you for everything you do. So thank you. Tourism Week, right? You're not going to say anything? You can just sit there and be quiet? Oh, you deferred? All right, yeah. Lisa's traveling for work, is that right? She's probably somewhere super nice. Hey, it's really important to know our number 1 industry is tourism, right? I mean, that's what brings things into the community. It's how we pay for a lot of things, the TOT tax. I'm not exactly sure about those numbers, but those are great numbers if they're true. But the reality is that you guys are doing great work, and I just want everybody that's out there, whether it's the videos or it's, I see a lot of stuff going on in Jaren's district with the state park and railroad camp, the history that is really important, so thank you for that. Was that? Oh, Railtown, what did I say?
Railroad camp.
A railroad camp, Chinese camp, railroad camp. I'll mix them together. It's been a wild morning so far. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you for all the work that you do, and please pass to your board, which I, for transparency, sit on. So, keep up the great work. All right, with that being said, I will accept a motion to accept all items except for number 6.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, so under the wire was Supervisor Kirk is the second, Supervisor Brandon was the first. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstained. Passes 5-0-0. All right, item number 6, Supervisor Campbell.
Yeah, I was hoping that the Public Works Director could kind of brief us on that. So this is an ongoing project in Willow Springs, very critical for the community there. If you are familiar with the area, it is one of the classic one-way in, one-way out communities in Tuolumne County. And unfortunately, that one-way in and one-way out crosses this culvert that's being addressed. Public Works has done a fantastic job getting out there early, getting equipment out there. I know we had some issues with some of the utilities moving some of their pipes and lines and electrical stuff, but I was just hoping you could provide us an update on what is planned out there and then some options for the future, because I know I've received some feedback from the community about what will it look like, and will people have increased walkability across that bridge, as we call it. Really, it's a culvert, but.
Good morning, Board. Blossom Scott Heim, your Public Works Director. This crossing had some damage in the 2023 storms and was submitted to FEMA as a storm project. The project has not yet been approved by FEMA, which is why we had not proceeded yet, though we have been monitoring it. When we found that it had failed, we immediately got a contractor out there and started the replacement. The FEMA program allows only replacement in kind with minor upgrades to local standards. So we are replacing it in kind. The road is currently 2 12-foot lanes with shoulders between 0 and 2 feet. We're putting back 2 12-foot lanes with 2 2-foot shoulders, one on each side, of course. There'll be a concrete head wall on the upstream side, riprap on the bottom, and very much what it looks like today, only not failing. We do have plans. We're currently applying for an active transportation program grant that will do some improvements along Soulsbyville Road, and we will be including the segment of Willow Springs from Soulsbyville Road to the clubhouse in that grant, some sort of a pedestrian path or sidewalk. We haven't dialed that in yet.
Okay. And I just kind of wanted to connect the dots here. So we're not able to build a sidewalk on this particular FEMA-funded repair project. However, there has been an ongoing effort with the active transportation program that you mentioned to do that, exactly that.
Correct.
Okay. When would the grants for that be submitted? Or the application?
The deadline is next month.
Next month, okay.
Yeah, and then engineering, if it's awarded, engineering would start, I don't know when the funding comes through, later this fall or early next year.
Okay. And for context, if anybody lives in that community, there were surveys that went out and a study that was done, and that's kind of connecting to this. And it's happening a little more. The weather, unfortunately, forced our hand a little bit with that culvert replacement project.
It is. We did a planning study a couple years ago, and that's when the surveys went out. We had an interactive website where people could report their issues or areas that they'd like to see improvements, and we're using that study really to support the effort on this grant application.
Okay, great. Thank you. I just wanted to tie it all together and just make sure that, because it can be confusing when people see that there's our initial FEMA request, and then there's this emergency request, and then there's active transportation. All these things are tied together to improve that crossing because it's recognized as a very critical juncture for that community.
Yes.
So,
thank you.
That was all I had.
Oh, I got a question, Blossom. Hold on.
Yeah, hold on.
Don't run away. Supervisor Campbell's point, 2 feet of gravel, can we just spill like an extra foot or two? I've dumped a lot of gravel in my days, and staying right at 2 feet is not exactly an exact science to at least make it walkable for the kids and stuff like that. I understand we're putting in 2 feet, but if a little bit spills over and makes it 3 foot, would anybody notice or care?
At this point, county council just, head exploded.
So
Okay.
we build the project to local standards. However, if we had to widen the road a little bit for a temporary lane or something, that bench would remain after the project's complete.
We'll talk after.
Yeah.
And the other, wait, one more thing is, so I thought Willow Springs had another exit. Does it only have one in and one out?
So if you go to the top of Oman Drive, I can't remember that's actually a private road that connects with Highway 108.
Puka or Pokey.
Yeah, Pokey.
Pokey, that's great.
So it's maintained by the residents that live up there. It is sometimes used by the residents, but it's not an official county road.
Weren't they going to put to the south side of Willow Springs? Weren't they going to do a project over there where it would connect through or something like that? I mean, obviously nothing's happened. But,
There have been various development projects
Yeah,
proposed.
there was a development project proposed there like 5 years ago where they wanted to do that, but it never.
so would that be a good thing then, if we could get someone to build over there and connect the road, so therefore, it doesn't, get a crash on the apparently 24 feet of road and then bottleneck the whole place?
Yeah.
I'll take that as a yes then.
I mean, if somebody would have to build it.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Boston.
Hold on, no, not yet.
Sorry, one more.
No, hold on, wait. Supervisor Brandon.
Yeah, thank you. I just had one question. This is, since it's being FEMA funded, this is more just an education and confirming a suspicion I have. We're getting this partly because of disaster funding, but with SB1, gas tax funding often goes to, highways and a little bit to local roads, sometimes sidewalks, stuff like that. The invisible infrastructure of roads like culverts and that. Are there funds that we're going after that exist within SB1 that help with specifically the things for like rural counties like ours where we're dealing with drainage issues as a really primary cause of a lot of this road degradation or washout?
SB1 can be used on roadside brushing, roadside spraying, drainage, culvert replacements, and we'll be bringing our annual SB1 list to the board. It has to be approved by June 30th, and you'll see that it includes culvert replacement funds.
Thank you.
We put some aside every year.
Great.
Supervisor Kirk?
I see that it's coming out of your road funding, which is fine, but is that going to pull from other projects?
It could.
It could?
It could. We traditionally fund all emergency projects from the road fund.
Okay.
And then wait for reimbursement.
Okay, so traditionally this is the way?
It is.
And if we didn't have the money, it would come from contingencies?
I believe so,
assuming?
yeah.
Okay.
We're still, just so the board knows, we're still carrying almost $1 million
Right.
of reimbursed FEMA projects from 2017. We're carrying $1 million plus.
Are we charging them interest?
No. We're carrying $1 million plus from 2018,
Oh
and we're carrying quite a bit already from 2023.
I guess if it's going to impact other projects, will that come back to the board to decide?
It could, yeah.
Okay. Because I keep thinking of like North Tuolumne Road, slipping again. But yeah, this needs to be fixed. I guess my request would be is if it's going to bump one of the other projects, I'd like for the board to maybe weigh in on that if needed.
We'll be bringing a project list pretty soon.
Okay.
And so we can have that discussion further then.
Okay. Thank you, Blossom.
Thank you.
I just appreciate that you were able to work riprap into a sentence. So I don't know what it is, but it sounded cool when you were talking about the repairs. So I don't care what it is. It just sounded cool. We're going to throw some riprap in there. So
It's big rocks
All
that
right.
they just throw on the ground.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, public comment. Any public comment on this matter? Come on up.
Good morning again. We need to do what Blossom's recommending and adding an additional 2 feet for kids to ride their bike between Willow Springs and Divine Market. My kids do it almost daily. They're always riding their bike, and they have to, current status quo is they have to ride into the road to go around all the dirt and stuff like that. So it's very vital for safety to add that 2 feet. Although District 2 is my favorite district, we need to look at culverts within the Tuolumne County as a whole. We need to address these issues to get fixed before we have catastrophic failure in other counties or other districts. So, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Supervisor Campbell?
I move that we approve staff recommendation on item 6.
I'll second.
Okay. So the motion made by Supervisor Campbell, seconded by Supervisor Holland. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So 5-0-0. All right. That'll move us into our county administration. Are we on a bathroom break? We'll take a 10. All right. How about we do this? Let's go ahead and take a 10-minute bio break. We will reconvene at 10:30 hours. Put Mr. Fisher on the spot, but we have item number 9 would be the next one I would take. However, they need a little time. Do you think you could handle number 11 next? Okay. So at this point, we're going to take item number 11, then we'll take item number 10. Okay. All right. Thank you for your understanding and patience. All right, Madam Clerk, would you please read item number 11?
Item number 11, consideration of approving an increase in appropriations to the County Administrator's Office budget in the amount of $25,000 and reducing general fund contingencies by the same amount for necessary infrastructure repairs and equipment installation at the Tulloch Reservoir Public Fishing Access Project area.
Good morning, Board. Mark Fisher from the County Administrator's Office. Supervisor Griefer, thank you for agreeing with me that it should go 11, then 10. It just makes more sense logically, considering that the items I'm about to discuss with you in this presentation are things that came up based on the amount of time that I've been putting in trying to restore access to the South Shore Campground. Regardless of which action that you decide to take on the temporary concessionaire agreement, these things would need to come first, so any concessionaire, long-term or short-term, can be successful. The first thing we should talk about is the fuel station that's on the lake. In the pictures there, you can see that the platform is sitting very, very low on the water, and it's beginning to bow in the center because the steel barrels that are underneath are corroding, and they're not working well as flotation devices anymore. And then in the second picture, you can see that the water is actually coming up onto the platform. And you should note that when I went out there, this was a very calm day. There were no boats, no wind. That was just normal, calm water that was washing up onto the platform. So while I don't think that this is necessarily an immediate problem, but when recreational boating begins, the continued jostling of the platform is likely to exacerbate the problem, especially when we're talking about those larger wake boats that can produce wakes that are several feet high. The fix for this involves fastening between 6 and 8 1,000-gallon plastic tanks and then filling them with compressed air in place of the existing steel drums. They'll last longer because they won't oxidize in the water, and they can be reinflated over time if they begin to lose any pressure. We estimate the cost about $8,000 for the tanks and maybe $3,500 to actually install them. The more immediate operational concern for any use of the property would be the replacement of the water storage tanks. There is no on-site water service at the campground right now because of the removal of the previous water tanks. There is well water service on site, but it doesn't draw enough water to meet the full demand at peak operation times. So the on-site storage is absolutely necessary to reopen the site to the public. We would purchase and install 2 5,000-gallon water storage tanks, and the cost for those is usually about $1 per gallon, so 2 of them, $10,000. Then the third thing that we want to consider is securing the main entrance. So this is not a picture of the main entrance per se. It's rather a picture, a still image that we were able to capture from a man who pulled down one of our security cameras that was posted on the toll booth. Yeah. This was captured seconds before he pulled it down, broke the bracket, and just sort of tossed it on the ground, I think. Yeah. We were able to resecure it at a higher place where people can't reach, but it's emblematic of the issue, is that people will just come in and they'll do whatever they do. This guy decided he didn't like cameras that day, I guess. If anybody happens to know this gentleman, we would very much like to speak with him. So currently, anyone can access the property at any time, really. Local property owners are concerned about vagrancy, vandalism, and the potential for wildfire risk. Since the proposed temporary agreement is not intended for 24-hour operations, regardless of any action taken on that item, there is some need to implement some kind of security gate or something to curb unauthorized access. This solution does come with its own fair of challenges. It won't block all access. It will, like anyone with a truck large enough, they would be able to drive around the gate that we put in. But what it would do is it would prevent anyone from boat trailers from accessing the property without permission. There are some property owners that use the main entrance for access to their properties. So we would need to make specific arrangements with those property owners to allow them to be able to open the gate, possibly through some personal access codes or some other type of personalized access. We estimate the cost of that between, I don't know, $2,500 and $3,500. There is some variability here, and so I was speaking with CIO Root earlier today, and $25,000 is a little tight, so maybe that can be something that you guys can consider moving forward. And that is all I have for this. I'd be happy to hear any of your questions.
All right, thank you. Supervisor Campbell, I know that at the last meeting you were asking about things that were missing. I didn't realize it was so extensive of stuff that was stolen. I didn't know if you had any further questions.
I understood, and we've talked about it.
Oh, okay, perfect. All right. Supervisor Holling.
Have we made a police report on the guy in the camera?
Did we?
I did not.
I suggest maybe we file a police report, maybe we put that guy's picture on social media, just like they're looking for the DUI hit and run guy in Twain Harte or whatever. Maybe we can be like, do you know this guy? And somebody might call and turn this in. I don't know. Let's throw it out there. And the other thing is, why is it we're having to replace all this stuff? Where did it all go? Because didn't all these improvements get put in under the concessionaire agreement that they became part of the, I don't know, part of the property or whatever to operate? So wouldn't that be county property? And did we make a police report on all the missing items that are missing from down there?
Yeah, I think we need to get a full inventory and actually know everything that was removed. We weren't as involved in everything, but we believe there were 3 of those 5,000-gallon water tanks that were removed. And I think a lot of this was just in spite with the relationship with the county, because even things like picnic tables were disassembled and just left on the ground. So all this stuff, and some pieces are missing, so all these picnic tables were disassembled and just left on the ground, other things like that. So there's a lot of, I think, inventory, and I think if the board, my recommendation actually would be to increase this after we've talked, and keep in mind that this number was last week, after we've talked, after we've met with some of the interested parties. I do believe it's going to be closer to $35,000 to $40,000 to do those improvements, to make those changes. And we will begin working with the sheriff's office on some of these items that we think are larger, but there's some work that needs to be done on the legal side also with our contract to make sure we're within our rights.
I mean, if somebody went into our maintenance yard and started taking equipment and stuff, we would definitely press charges and possibly a lawsuit. Are we talking about doing this, especially if we know who's taken the items, sold the items? I mean, at some point, this is still the people's money. We represent the people. As a person, I would be very upset about this, my tax dollars getting.
Yeah, we are absolutely continuing to look at what our options are as a county with this stuff.
All right. I think that's all. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Supervisor. Other one, Brandon or Kirk? Brandon, all right.
Thank you. I have no questions on this. We brought up at the last meeting that I think it's smart for us to invest in some of the basic infrastructure there. I agree. I think 25 may be too low. I would like to see that as a ceiling increased. Just seeing from the photo there of that great selfie that guy took. So some of the other thing, I imagine we are going to run into more stuff. Rats chewed through wiring here. The parking lot has, cracks with weeds kind of here that we could do some crack filling. My recommendation would be if we put money into this right now, we are asserting management, we are taking care of it. I certainly don't want anybody to claim we have something that we're not basically making work. And if we, on the next item, move forward with the temporary concession agreement or something, that we are launching it with as best a possible start. So I don't have any questions on it. Appreciate the photos. Water tank seems to be about the dumbest thing that anybody could steal as far as trying to put that on the back of a truck and rip that out of the ground and resell that. I don't know. And I know it goes for a little bit, but I can't even imagine what a fiasco that must have been to be able to disinstall. I guess I shouldn't use the word steal. Allegedly steal. So I would recommend that we put a ceiling on this and up to $50,000 in general fund contingencies.
Supervisor Campbell?
I have just a question on the contingencies part of it. Is there a budget for, like, do we have a line item for maintenance of the Tulloch Reservoir? Or how would this traditionally have been paid for? It would have been paid by the concessionaire, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we don't have any money. Are there other funds that we could draw from other than contingencies to do this?
There are none. Moving forward, we have a trust fund that was established for this, but it was none of the revenue was ever retained in that trust fund. It was always just put into general fund. So moving forward, even from this point forward, we'll have all those funds go back into that trust fund, and that trust fund will be used for improvements on the property, including even the Tulloch Dam Road improvements in that area. So we will have a trust fund. It was never put into the trust fund.
I guess why would we not make it a condition of the whoever becomes the next concessionaire to make these improvements as well, and then give them a break on the concession fees or something like that?
Well, I think what we heard from the board last week was that we're concerned about initial investments and then and then the temporary concessionaire losing out on that investment. You wanted to keep them whole. This would be our opportunity to work with, if you choose to go with a temporary concessionaire, our opportunity to work with the temporary concessionaire. But some of these things we have to do. I think just if we just decide not to go as a temporary concessionaire, then we have to put the gates up. We have to start looking at what we're going to do with the water, because we won't be able to reopen without the water tanks back in there. And I think the gates are crucial for the security of the campground and for the peace of mind of the residents that are there. We've had quite a few visitors. In a 1-hour meeting yesterday, I think I got 91 alerts for people and animals that were on the property. We had a group in a very large limousine on Saturday night, probably someone's prom, but I'm assuming it's a prom from someplace else other than Tuolumne County, because they were so excited about the deer on the property. We have had a lot of visitors. There were people swimming in the lake on Saturday and I believe Sunday also. So we need to do something to help secure the property, even if we don't have an agreement.
Supervisor Kent, anything further?
No, my main issues that we're pulling from contingencies to do this.
Okay. Supervisor Kirk?
Yeah, you guys beat me to it. The only thing I put down was, do we not have a trust account like Kennedy D. Meadows? So I guess moving forward, that will be corrected. Do we know how many total, I guess, Roger, could you guys do a quick audit of, do we have any other potential same boats out there like this? Tulloch, I know Kennedy Meadows has a trust account. I don't think there's too many of them. Could we make sure that money's going in trust accounts so we don't have to deal with this again somewhere else?
Yeah, we'll definitely work with the auditor's office.
Okay.
So just to be clear, the trust fund that was set up was never funded, and it's not this administration. This was a prior administration that was not putting the money where it was supposed to. So I don't want people to think that we're not putting the money where it's supposed to be. Right. We've identified that and we're correcting it.
Yeah, and we haven't received any funds since, I believe it was October 2024.
Okay. Okay, all right.
I got one question.
Oh, go ahead, sir.
So part of the big problem, I believe, last year was the fact that Trident wouldn't allow anybody on the lake. How is that problem going on currently? Because obviously whoever is interested, that's a big draw of usage to people down there, that they're going to want to use the lake, launch boats, and do all that because, I don't know why we need a floating gas station if there's no boats on the lake, right? And to that point, you may want to look into, they make aluminum piping full of foam that doesn't, so they don't have to worry about the air leaking out and them deflating. And they use those for under the docks. They work really good. They never rot because they're aluminum and foam filled. But and also you can buy used water tanks, get them cheaper. So where are we at on that tri-dam situation about them actually being able to use the water? Has that got resolved?
I think we've actually had some really good conversations with Tri-Dam, and one of the issues we had last year, we could have opened that boat ramp if the concessionaire would have been willing to sign the agreement with Tri-Dam and operate the decontamination station, which is on the property today. The concessionaire refused to do either one of those items until very late in the year when he was trying to sell the property. I believe he signed it in like October or November. But so if he would have done those steps as the concessionaire, we could have opened the boat launch last year. But he did not want to be part of that. And so I'll let Mark add some additional details because he's been working closely with Tri-Dam.
But as long as there's a path moving forward, so whoever wants to be the temporary one or permanent one, whatever, they're going to bear it. Because obviously that's a huge draw to get people to come there as you can go in the lake. Otherwise, you're just camping in Knight's Ferry, basically.
Part of the requirements for the temporary agreement that will be in item 10 and any future long-term agreement to operate as a concessionaire down there will be a requirement to obtain all necessary training and certifications to operate the decontamination station. And that also functions as a revenue source for the future concessionaire because they can charge anywhere between, I don't want to quote too much because people charge different amounts, but maybe up to like $250 for a very large boat with, multiple ballasts and things like that. There's really specific procedures, but larger boats, they cost quite a bit of money to launch using to get decontaminated in that way.
Okay, we'll talk about this more later. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, I'll open it up to public comment. Anybody have anything they wish to say? Come on up. So just to be clear, I know we have two items. We just want to make sure that we're talking about item number 11, which is the county giving a certain dollar amount for certain things that we've talked about.
Okay. Hi, my name is Bernadette Catania, and I own the Lakes Treatment Center. And so I was just going to maybe see if I could help out on the last question that you asked about where we're at with recreation on the lake. If you want me to answer or talk about that, I could. Okay.
Yeah.
So last year, the reason that the South Shore Campground, which is in your county, and my property at 7260 O'Burns, which is the old resort, is now the Lakes Treatment Center, as well as Drifters Marina, we did not participate in getting people on the lake. And that was a direct result of us not being willing to sign the hold harmless and the waiver that Tri-Dam had presented to the homeowners associations. The homeowners associations are the only ones that did that. Per our council, we were counseled not to sign that. So that's why the lake was shut down. Tri-Dam is responsible for recreation on the lake. That's a required element. I forget which element number it is, but they are required for providing recreation on the lake. And so Washington, D.C. has recently violated their license, but under the Aquatic Vegetation Management Plan. However, there's very firm language that came out that they were to, hopefully before this season, get recreation back on the lake. So that decontamination station could have been up and going last year. It's owned by Tri-Dam. It's on you guys' property or the state's property that you guys lease. So anyways, there's a lot of, Tri-Dam's kind of dug in their heels and they have not worked with the stakeholders or either of the counties. I have spoken with Supervisor Brandon on this. I work with his counterpart in Calaveras County, who's our supervisor, Amanda Follendorf, and we all just kind of need to get together. Nobody wants to not work with each other. There's the private people, there's the homeowners associations, there's the counties, There's all these Bureau of Reclamation, there's Fish and Wildlife. There's so many tentacles that make that lake operate. But first and foremost, really want to get recreation back on the lake. This has been a horrible thing for the economies for both our Tuolumne County and Calaveras County. And there's some people at the lake that want to.
Ma'am,
I know my
that's
time's
okay.
gonna
But
be up.
you were walking up, and your time was counting as you were walking up, and we were kind of talking. So I'm going to give you an extra 10 seconds. I know that doesn't seem like a lot, but just to finish your
Well,
point.
that's okay. I just would like us all to work together if we can.
All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Okay, anyone else?
Hello, once again, Board. I just want to point something out, well, besides Supervisor Holland still carrying on the Aloha spirit, is that a number of the temporary docks were removed around the gas dock, and that is only going to break down and get worse. There's nothing buffering them. There's no barrier now. Any one of those large displacement boats that everyone wake surf behind, those 4-foot waves are going to roll right in there. So I know the boating season hasn't started yet. We kick it off Memorial, but that's going to become an urgent environmental issue really quick once the boating season does get into play. And it's important to note all the different houses are around Tolek, so all those houses do have boats. So even if there's not public access on the South Shore, there will be a lot of boats on the lake, and I'm really concerned about the environmental impact of that gas tank, knowing that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, any further?
Just going to make it quick. It sounds like you guys already know a lot of what's going on and what needs to be done. I just wanted to bring up quick, because in the contract that's being written up, it sounds like the responsibilities are being covered. It's just a matter of, approval of the 4/5 vote. So for consideration, there is California Government Code 25637B, which it's kind of similar as to what you guys already explained as far as putting together a fund, taking the time that's needed to be able to put everything back together in a way that is exactly the way you need it as the government, right? Taking care and stuff like that. So I just wanted to just shine a little light there and support. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good morning. Don
Morning.
Nessel, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I just found it interesting that the man here was looking at budgeting in a frugal manner, trying to get bare bones money, and came up with $25,000. But we weren't sure where the money was coming from. But we said, hey, well, just make it 50,000 tops. We don't budget that way at our house. We budget according to what we're going to pay, and that we do have the money, and not, well, let's double it and then go from there. So that was an interesting comment.
Thank you, sir. All right. Going once, going twice. All right, thank you. All right, we'll bring it back to the board for discussion or a motion.
Chair, and I don't know if there was consistency on this, what I heard from staff was a recommended increase from the prices that I've heard, and I asked the same question in email there. It seemed to be too low to avoid it, having to come back to avoid delays in the concession. I think it is a little different than a household. You may have to bring it back to a secondary approval there, and it can actually cause a lot of delays. But this is an investment in effectively something that, I won't say we own, but we manage, and infrastructure we're responsible for. I think this is something that would be weird to be cheap on. So my recommendation would be that we increase the appropriations and follow the staff recommendation here for item 11 with the amended amount of a ceiling of up to $45,000.
All right, is there a second? All right, seeing no second, that one fails. Is there a new motion?
Any feedback?
Well, and I appreciate that. So
I can share feedback on my position is that this board's made a lot of statements about the county being broke, being out of money, and needing to tighten our belt. And here we are spending $25,000 of contingencies, the same fund balance that was available to keep our fire station open, and instead we're spending it on a resort. And my feeling is that if the money, and admittedly, it's a much smaller amount of money, but the source of that money is the same. And so if we're going to be disciplined with our money and tighten our belt, then we should apply that uniformly across all of our funding areas, particularly contingencies, which has been at the front of our minds a lot lately. So I'm not supportive of spending any contingencies on this.
Time out. I want to say something. In the June budget conversation, you voted to give raises and changes in step increases. And my reason for voting against it was because we had just talked about 56. So you gave that.
You're wrong. You're wrong. I
You're
voted
all over
against
the
the
place.
last.
Gentlemen, all
I
over the
voted
place.
against the wrong budget, and what we're talking about is decisions that were made subsequent to your decision to close a fire station.
It's
So-
election season. Let's
right,
You
gentlemen,
keep saying
hold
that.
on.
You are the only one that talks about you're getting reelected. You're
Go to
the only
June-
one that's
go to
worried
the
about
June
that.
budget and watch
I
your
am the
words.
one that's making decisions based on what's right for the
On
community.
$25,000.
And I'm trying to be consistent. And you
Now,
say it doesn't
gentlemen.
matter? You say it doesn't matter?
It's a game. Go ahead.
Right. So Supervisor Campbell, if I heard you correctly, you do not wish to spend any money out of contingencies on
No,
this?
not
Okay.
for this.
All right, I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. All right, Supervisor?
CO
Holland?
Root, if we were to seed money this, is it very plausible and we then approve the next one where we have a temporary concessionaire in there, we would be repaid that money through the usage of it over the summer as part of the contract?
Yeah, as part of the contract, there is and I'll let Mark speak a little bit more to it, but yes, we are, the intent is to eventually start receiving revenue from the campground, from the boat launch and the campground again at one point.
And I understand Supervisor Campbell's point in this. I agree with it, but I look at it a little bit different as if somebody came by and shot out all the windows in our building, we wouldn't not repair our windows and just say, well, that's where the money would have to come from, or we could say we're pulling it out of maintenance if it is our, wherever we're pulling it from. And I think here we have an opportunity to seed some of that and then get reimbursed, or if not more, where if it sits empty, we get nothing out of the citizens, we get nothing for tax dollars, we get nothing. And people are going to go down there and keep messing with stuff, essentially, right? I mean, we had a guy, like, as I said, give us a nice selfie. Hopefully we see him on the Crime Stoppers graphic or something later, whoever he is, along with whoever we're looking for in Twainhart, and put that out there. So I agree with Ryan on that point about not spending that money. I think this is a slightly different because we have an opportunity to seed that and get repaid within months because the summer season is, Memorial's next Monday, I think, right, or something like that. So I think we need to go with the recommendation, sorry, Jaren, of 25 because that's what they put together. And I think they could buy some used stuff and maybe, we can get by. I mean, I think Facebook Marketplace, we might be able to find some good items there. Maybe our own stuff possibly, and we buy it back. And then if they really do need it, we're going to be here in another week anyways. They could do the research and come back to us, or we just try to get it done for 25. Like we just try to stay within a budget. It'd be amazing. It'd be great. So my recommendation is, I'll just make a motion that we approve 11 as presented. Let's just get on with this.
With the understanding that the monies will be returned to contingencies and then the trust fund.
Well, yes,
Separate, that's a whole thing. Yeah.
Well, I guess the question before the board is, so the 25,000, that's for the water tanks, that's for the dock, that's for the gates.
That's correct.
So those three things, which we would need anyway.
Definitely the water tanks. That's the thing that's absolutely necessary. There is no running water.
Right, but to keep people out, we have to get the gates up, right? So that's a primary concern too, because we have to look at it from.
I'm speaking strictly in terms of like absolute operational necessity. Like, yes, a gate for security, fantastic. We definitely should do that. But to even have people there to utilize the property, we need the water tanks.
That's if item 10 were to pass. Meaning, I spoke incorrectly.
We're going to cross into a little bit.
No.
Let
I
me
just want
answer
to
your
make sure.
question though.
So the problem here is the reason we switch this is because there's certain things that we have to have and there's certain things that we need to have, right? So what we have to have is a gate or gates to keep people from going down there, damaging the facility, damaging the dock, things that down there, addressing the issue of fire, addressing the issue of trash, those things, right? So that's our primary, right? The second part of that is who is going to pay for those water tanks? Would it be the concessionaire or would it be the county? Is the county required to have those tanks there, right? Because if we put the tanks in, but we don't have enough money to put the gates in, someone's just going to damage or steal the gates or the tanks again. So I'm trying to figure out where we're going to, what this $25,000 is to do. So I guess there is a motion on the floor to accept 11 as is. I will second that for conversation. So with that being said, the $25,000 is for the tanks, the some basic cameras, and the dock and the gates, correct?
Well, we already have cameras, so just,
sorry.
yeah,
So
the gas
just
station,
those three
the gas
items then.
station, the gate,
Okay.
and the tanks.
All right. Supervisor?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask then, back to staff, I know we have a motion in a second. It's relevant, I think, to that. 25 is in the document. It was stated at the beginning, we may need more. I know I recommended we put a ceiling and a certain amount. It sounds like there's not support for that if additional repairs come up. What I want to ask is, for those three things specifically identified in this, are we kind of saying 25 and then it will inevitably come back here because it will not be enough? What is the minimum amount you would need to achieve those three? Can it be done in 25, or is there an amount you need to work within?
I think, I think we can do it within 25. I don't know if it's inevitable. We'd come back to the board, but there's a chance. We don't know exactly how much the docks are going to cost to fix right now. We have to still do some assessment and work with someone who's going to do that work. We also have a lot of requirements for the permitting with the docks, fit to fix that gas thing. So, which Mark is working through, which I am, and with there's several agencies we have to work through with the permitting, and we're not sure about those costs either.
Okay. Anyway, that's my only question, and I'm fine with the as-is
Did you have a
motion.
clarifying point?
No, he pretty much covered it. But there is some flexibility, or there is some variability in the cost of repairing the floating gas station, simply because, as he said, the cost of various permits and things like that. But the equipment and installation costs is pretty firm. That's the estimate I got. I think that they've already expressed a desire to make sure they want to see this place open just as much as everybody else does, and they've made pretty firm that they're willing to work with us to make sure that it stays affordable so that people can access the property.
All right, thank you. So there is a motion on the floor for 25,000 as written in item number 11. There's a second by myself. Unless there's any final questionings, I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, so, and abstains? All right, so the item passes 4-1-0. All right, we'll take item number 10, Madam Clerk.
Item number 10, consideration of approving a temporary concession agreement with Joe McGrath to operate the Lake Tulloch RV Campground and Marina until October 31, 2026, and discussion and direction to staff concerning the status of the facilities, needed improvements, and procurement of long-term concession services.
All right, so a little history. This was before your board, the two colleagues who weren't here at the time. We tabled this so you would be able to weigh in accordingly. We now have a contract that you had drafted up as a temporary. It is not the group that we are going with. The question before the board is, are we going to go with the temporary, or are we not? Are we going to kick it out to RFP, which would delay, and I'll let you lead with that.
So I can cross off a couple points from my notes here. That was a good intro. Thank you. So when I brought this item for consideration before direction, some of the feedback that I got was you really messed me up. I had a whole thing planned.
All right, well, just
and now-
pretend I didn't say anything. Let it rip.
So your board requested that we table the item to consider at the next meeting so that two other members could be here, and to finalize the agreement for approval should the board decide to proceed. But there were also some requests for refining the scope and extending the term, and the potential to offer optional extensions. The potential temporary agreement has been revised with the following changes. The term has been extended from October 1st, or the end date has been extended from October 1st to the end of October 31st, with an optional extension to be decided between the parties. This is to help us potentially cover, like if there's issues with procurement, protests, or anything like that. We want to be able to extend the term to keep things going while we finalize the long-term agreement. The scope has specifically been narrowed only to include the operation of the boat launch and the decontamination station, but it still retains the flexibility, the option for the temporary concessionaire to expand into other operations, such as campground rentals, contingent upon their understanding of the financial risks involved and the potential of not achieving cost recovery. So it's entirely up to them how broad they want to go. But the core elements of the service is to operate the boat launch and the decontamination station and the required elements of launching boats according to the TRIDAM's requirements for preventing the mussel thing. Yeah. So at this point, your options are to approve this temporary agreement. Operations can begin as soon as needed, as soon as the needed equipment is installed and the concessionaire staff are trained and certified on the banding, decontamination, and boat launching procedures. And during that time, county staff would develop an RFP during the term of that temporary agreement for a long-term agreement. If you decline the temporary agreement, staff would immediately begin on an RFP for long-term operations. This might accelerate the timeline of finding a long-term concessionaire. However, we would do that at the cost of keeping the property, it would be at the cost of having the property remain closed for some or possibly all of the summer recreation season. So I didn't mention this aspect of it before, but I will say it now. Regardless of which direction your board goes in, a long-term agreement is going to be needed and the RFP is going to go out. If you approve the temporary agreement, I have lots of other things that I do, and so it would buy me a little bit of time to spread out the development of a proper RFP for a long-term contract correctly and do the procurement correctly. Give me a little bit more time while I do many other things that I do. If you decline the agreement, I'm still going to start right away. It's just my other responsibilities may be impacted by that. Didn't mention this before because regardless, I'm going to find a way to make whatever you say work, but that's an additional consideration. So does your board want to go with the temporary agreement as we've drafted it, or would you prefer to hold off on that and immediately begin the RFP process?
All right, thank you. Bring it back to the board. I'll start with Supervisor Holland if he has any questions.
If we did not go with a temporary agreement and we waited to do the RFP process, most likely we would miss the summer boating season and therefore missing the opportunity to repay the $25,000 we just got done approving. Of course, we'd get repaid later down the road, but instead of getting it done now within a couple months and having it back in the fund.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Supervisor Kirk? Supervisor Campbell? Nothing. Questions? Supervisor Brandon?
No questions.
All right. So we'll bring it open to the public comment, which you've all waited for. Come on up, Joe. Nothing?
Thank you again. The South Shore is a vacant lot right now. Every boat from the Delta can arrive here today. 0 inspection, 0 security, 0 compliance, as you know. Joe McGrath held one contract at this facility. Joe Pineda operated the marina under a separate contract for 20 years total between the two operators, 2 contracts independently trusted by this county, both standing here together for the first time. Personally, I have never owned a business. I've tried. What I am is more of a ladder holder, a supporter, a protector, someone that someone else's dream has a foundation strong enough for everyone else's dream to fit inside. For this lake, for this team, for this community. 3 problems today. No security on the county property, no decontamination station while the mussels move through neighboring lakes, a compliance failure under county, as you guys know. Basically, it's a big problem. The lakes, as far as when they installed these decontamination stations, about 1 week into installation, had found golden mussels. Berryessa, it was Folsom, and Oroville, Tahoe. 101 days ago, February 8th, Joe, George, and I walked into the county together. Since that day, we have studied, prepared for the operational requirements, looking into what's needed to get things running. Upon agreeing, voting forfeits vote, we can establish security, property will no longer be vacant. Ramp restoration begins, water systems restoration begins, and basically we can work towards a full operation to make everything work the way it needs to work. One contract with Joe McGrath, one contract Joe Pineda, independently trusted, now unified. 32 years combined at this exact facility, 101 days of preparation. The law says yes, records say yes, the community says yes. Activate the credible or own the consequence of leaving this property vacant. All the board needs to do is vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Is it afternoon? Oh, it's not afternoon. Good morning,
Good morning.
gentlemen. My name is Tina Flores, and I have the honor of not just only living in District 1, but also I have been blessed with having a property in District 5 of Gerrans, okay? So, as I said, my name is Tina Flores, and I am a small vacation rental owner who happens to be immediately adjacent to the campground. Right? So with that, you can only understand the financial hardship that this has taken on my household, especially right now because we are in a high fire district. So the insurance costs are astronomical to have such a little piece of heaven next to the lake. And this income that we get is what helps us defer our fire insurance. Okay, so it is very personal to me. I'm very, very blessed to have this second home. It's a very modest home, but anytime there's a fire, I'm really afraid that it's going to impact that home or my home in Sonora. So that's my personal perspective. Now, the bigger concern, which should be the concern of all of us, is just the huge risk that we are taking from a fire perspective and a safety perspective. Now I'm really frightened because here we have all these other folks coming in. We already know we have a transient issue, we have homeless issue, we have fire risks. What else are we going to have to bear? So, I am really pleading with the board to please approve so that we can have these dedicated folks who are going to be there working tirelessly to get this campground going. It is not just a revenue stream for myself, it is a revenue stream for us, for the county of Tuolumne. Okay? The $25,000 investment you're going to get it back in TOT revenue, which will ultimately help us get another firehouse, because I want that as well. So I am asking to please trust Mr. McGrath. He has the infrastructure, the staff, the experience to get this going, and it will go faster than the wheels of government if we choose to wait to do a proper RFP and then have to have more money to reinstall all the infrastructure that has already been damaged through wear and tear, vandalism. So as a community member, a very proud community member, I am asking you all please to consider the small, retired, disabled business owner to just have her little lake house and be safe in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else?
Hi, good morning. My name is Rhonda Solis. My maiden name is Frederick, actually. My grandpa built that marina. I have a personal interest, and I just want to say it's really hard watching the entire South Shore be the way it is now. I grew up there, watched it from day one, and to see it the way it is now is heartbreaking. And it's not just the boats not being launched there, it's the day use not being there, people not going there. It's not the same. It's an after bay for Maloney's, so the water is clean, it's cool, it does not have leeches in it. People want to go there, and to not have access to it is heartbreaking. And you want to be there. The decontamination, all this stuff is just, it's a mess. We got to get it open. People go from all over the place. More people from the Bay Area know about this lake than the locals do. You have to get it open. If we have people who want to open it, let's get it open. It's vital to the community. You got to get the revenue going. Having it go another summer without opening is nothing but lost revenue to this county that is completely broke and needs money. So like I said, that's my heart and soul. I've owned not one but 2 houses on South Shore. Like I said, my dad built those cabanas. My grandpa built that marina. We know everything about it. If you know anything, I know everything about that lake. So it's half my heart is there. So.
All right, thank you. I know, you know the rules, no clapping, cheering, or booing. I appreciate that, though.
Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Sue Vidori. I own a home here in Sonora. I also own a short-term vacation rental on the South Shore, right by the campground. I've had that for 12 years now. It's been a successful short-term rental, with the exception of last summer. We've lost thousands of dollars in revenue, which in turn means that the county has lost TOT tax money. There are several other short-term rentals on that South Shore in the same situation. We are not in an HOA, so we do not have access to the lake. We don't have our own ramp. Our only access is that campground. That's where our guests come and go. And let's face it, nobody wants to vacation at a lake house with a boat slip and not have a boat access. Additionally, the campground and the marina being vacant, as you've heard, are safety issues. We have overgrown weeds already. There's a chance for more vandalism and more transient activity over there. Today, you're being asked to approve the allowance of a temporary concessionaire contract that will give us the ability to open the launch area to the public again, while a long-term RPF can be constructed and implemented. Waiting for the long-term contract would take months, as has been said already. If we can do this temporary and get it going, these guys are ready to hit the ground running. They have staff in line already. They have certified inspectors, self-included. They are already talking with Tri-Dam in getting their training for the decontamination station. So everything is in line to get it up and running, and they are, of course, in hopes of taking on the long-term RPF as time goes on. I do want to talk about for just a moment, you talked about you didn't want to put any money into the campground because it was just a resort. The gas station over there is the filling station for the Tuolumne County Sheriff's Department. When they are on the water, that is where they go to get their gas. And if you will notice in the new temporary contract, the concessionaires are going to be obligated to provide gasoline to the Sheriff's Department at the concessionaire's cost. So I think that's something to take into account. You might want to put a little bit of the county money into that based on that. The other thing is you don't want to pay for the water tanks, but you want to lease out the property to somebody to use it. So as a rental owner, it's kind of hard to say you're going to lease a place out and not provide water.
That's all your time. Thank you, though.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you. So just for clarity, I did live on the South Shore for several years, so I am both sides of the lake. A couple of things that you mentioned were permitting costs, possibly for what was going to go on there. Just a little background information, because the whole operation of the lake with Tri-Dam is kind of, confusing. But there are 2 in the shoreline management plan. Residential is taken care of by or governed by Tri-Dam, but commercial, 10 boat slips or more, is through Washington, D.C., through FERC. So while the campground would have to approve, Tri-Dam would have to approve what's there, it would ultimately get approved by Washington, D.C. The other thing is, I don't really see how they could be asking you to pay for additional permitting when those docks were there, and they're the ones that forced the closure and forced the previous concessionaire to block off the launch ramp. So everything there is grandfathered in from a long time ago. And if you took a Google Earth map and showed what was there and you just put them back, why would you have to get a new permit? So I would just make sure that everybody asks the right questions.
All right, thank you. Okay, any other public comment? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. Any final comments or questions?
I'm being so talkative today.
I know, medication's working.
It is. Thank you guys for all your comments, especially Ms. Flores. She noted that she lives in the heart of Tuolumne County, known as District 1, so great shout out. I'm fully in support of this. I think that the money will come back. I think it's an economic driver. I think sometimes we look at just the campground money, but to the short-term property owners, that there's the peripheral around it, that we're losing TOT and other things. I don't think we've quantified that, but something tells me we surpassed that $25,000. So I know that's already off our plate and taken care of. So I think we should move forward with this. I encourage my board to vote yes on it, because I think just sitting there and letting it do nothing for the summer would be a complete waste. And, you know, it was very painful last year. And so hopefully Tri-Dram is cooperative this year, or we're going to have a lot of board talks about this. Thanks.
Did you have a motion you wish to make?
Well, no one else got comments?
We haven't done comments.
Well, I said comments or questions. You could still make a motion. We could second it, but if you want to have
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm in support of the temporary concession agreement. I didn't have a lot of comments.
But did you guys like switch? Did something happen? I mean, what's going on here? It's
I've
like
got the
Bizarro world, right? I mean, all right,
Don't
it's the
send
hat.
Mike on vacations again.
Yeah, I got them all wound up. All right. Any other comments?
I support the comments.
Oh, good. So since it's your district's.
Appreciate that. I will make the motion to approve a temporary concession agreement with Joe McGrath and on the staff recommendation for the Lake Toluc RV campground and marina, effective until October 31st, 2026, and all the rest.
I'll second that.
Insane.
And just for clarity on some of the comments, my issue with the last item was where the money was coming from, not that we should not support it or that it's not a good idea to have a concessionaire there. So just for clarity's sake.
All right, is this also encapsulating the giving direction to do the RFP? The long
It's
term.
a temporary, so.
Well, I
we
know
have-
it's temporary, but he said that he would be doing that as well. But we want to make sure that we don't leave anything on the table. So does this encapsulate? We're telling you we're going to vote now on whether or not to do the temporary. We're also giving you guidance to send up to do the RFP for the long term.
Yes, either way, I was going to do a long-term RFP. I just
Okay,
wanted
that's
to know
what I just-
if you want
okay.
me to do it now.
No. Just
Or
want to make sure
spread it out over a long
I just
term.
want to make sure that we didn't have to come back and have another conversation. All right. So the motion on the floor is to do the temporary as presented. It is seconded by Supervisor Campbell. Any further comments, questions? I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain. All right. Passes 5-0-0. Congratulations. Good luck. All right. Now you can clap.
I was going to say, now they can clap.
All right. All right. With that being said, was that clapping for me because I shut up? All right. All right, Joe. You still serving Reubens over there, right? You still serving those great Reubens? Not yet. All right. All right. All right. You let me know. All right, Madam Clerk, please read item number 9, please.
Item number 9, consideration of approving the amended stipulated judgment in the matter of People versus Sonora Mining Corporation et al., Stanislaus County, Superior Court Case Number CV 310102, extending the 2006 stipulated judgment for mediation of the Jamestown mine site until June 6, 2041, increasing the county's annual payment to the remediation trust, updating parties, and clarifying terms.
All right, Supervisor Holland.
I am going to recuse myself from this item as I am one of the largest landowners next to the mine property, but I will be back for public comment as I am a neighbor and I have something to say as a citizen. So that is that.
Okay, get out. He's going to do the slow. You can go out that door. He has to go out that door.
No, please, do a lap.
Mr. Embry, take it away.
Yeah, so I don't have a long presentation. I will give a high-level summary that's consistent with what's already in the memo, but I would be happy to answer any questions after that. Yeah, so the recommendation staff is bringing is to sign the amendment to the stipulated judgment. Just a little bit of a backstory. Back starting in the late 1980s, there was an active modern gold mine down in Jamestown, sometimes referred to as the Harvard Mine. The mining company at the time, as well as several of the landowners of the site, were litigated for environmental reasons. The Tuolumne County, being the local jurisdiction with authority for that, was also involved in that litigation. That litigation was settled, and the county, as a term of that settlement, was required to pay $6 million towards the remediation of the site. That money is held in a market portfolio, and so it kind of goes up and down based upon the market conditions, but there's approximately $5 million left in the fund at this point. One of the terms of the stipulated judgment is that once the completion of the trust term were to happen, that money would revert back to the water board as the beneficiary of the trust. So we would lose access to the money. That's one of the major purposes for the amendment, is to allow the trust to continue to operate and to bear the brunt of the cost of that. The county is still paying against the fund that the loan that was taken out, and will continue to pay that until approximately 2036, 2037 fiscal year. So, that's a major feature. Just to kind of highlight the purpose of the amendment, one of them is to extend the deadline, as noted. Also, it just clarifies, updates the properties. Some of them have been subdivided, some of them have been inherited or sold. So that's just kind of a bookkeeping issue. Property interests for all parcels. There was a more clear pathway now for a landowner to request removal from the stipulated judgment, as well as to request eligible land uses. It prohibits the regional board from unreasonably withholding consent, and to provide clarity for how they can achieve compliance with their intended land use. It does include a slight increase in terms of the amount of funds that the county continues to contribute. In addition to the trust fund being funded at the beginning, the county currently pays $115,000 a year for operations. That would increase under the new terms to $120,000 and go up $5,000 every 5 years thereafter. We are hopeful that we, by being more active and participating with the trustee and the water board, we will either find a way to permanently remediate the site, or find a revenue driver that at least offsets the costs. So we're hopeful that we will see an end to all of this and have a permanent solution one way or the other. So that's part of the intent, is to have those funds available to do whatever planning documentation is necessary to kind of see our way forward into a better situation. And at that point, I'll pause and ask for questions.
Oh, you will, huh? All right, any questions? All right, seeing none, we'll open it up to public comment. Is that legal? Is this, okay.
I don't know about this guy.
He's definitely selling timeshares.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hello, board. Mike Holland, citizen of Tuolumne County, District 1, the heart of Tuolumne County, the best district.
Oh, my God.
Jaron, that's a very nice hat, by the way. I would encourage this board to, if we're going to put money, taxpayer dollars, into the remediation down there, that we should be getting something out of it about maybe looking at, if we're going to keep paying money, about loosening the rules so eventually the county can use that property for something down there. Because right now, as I know, because I own a lot of property next to it, it grows a lot of weeds and doesn't do anything. And so I don't know what could go there, but right now nothing can go there. So I would hopefully that you guys, since I can't, as a citizen, I can't be part of that, but maybe you guys could look at that, and maybe we get something out of our money being spent about trying to change the rules a little bit and trying to figure out if it could be used, generate something down there. As I said, I have no idea what, but it's a lot of property. It's in a really great location, and be used for anything. I don't know. You guys put your heads together, come up with a plan, but I would encourage that, or delay possibly, to then use this to our advantage if we're being asked to contribute money. And if you read the plan, all it says is we had to do phase one. I believe phase one got completed, but there's really nowhere to go with phase two. It doesn't really specify anything. I mean, I watch what goes on over there. It's kind of a joke about all this we're spending just to pump water from one side to the other side. We don't contain nearly half of the water that comes off of that hill, because I know where it goes. And so I would, maybe you guys go back to the drawing board, have a conversation with the water board and the trustee, and maybe have a long-term plan put in place that after a couple more years, we could start to do something as citizens, as the county down there. Anyways, that kind of all makes sense, hopefully, and I'm gonna leave the room again now. Thank you guys for hearing me. Again, District 1, best district.
Thank you for your long commute today. Good morning, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity. So I've misunderstood what's going on with that property for forever, but based on what Mr. Holland just said, it appears that it's open for ideas. And I thought at one time it was part of the ag campus for Sonora High School, and I'm sure I was wrong about that because I never saw anybody there. But surely you could fence it and let some critters graze it off as far as the weeds go. And then if the ground was improved in some way, there could be crops planted there. If the ag department really has kids working in that respect, they might be real excited to have another site to just transform. And we're constantly concerned about the homeless. Maybe we could raise some food for them on that site. So, or maybe you could have a community garden on that site. And I saw the water looked really kind of a weird color, but maybe it is usable and we could pump some out over to Mr. McGettigan's farm there and help him graze, or he could pay for bringing water over to raise hops and the other stuff that he does there. Or Tom for his grapevines, bring the water out of there and put it over there in the grapevine. So surely there are some good ideas, and I'm sure Sean has really helped to figuring that stuff out too. So thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, ma'am.
Hello. I am also a county citizen that's a little, I'm confused about the current contamination of the parcel or the area. I know it was very contaminated at one time and water was a big issue. So being not in the know of that is kind of weird. I've lived here for a long time. And before you guys make a decision, I'd like it if you give me an update, if you know what it is, or you give me an update. I would really like to know. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other comment? All right, we'll bring it back to the board. Shembri, could you maybe elaborate a little on some of the contamination? Not to put you on the spot here, if you don't have that data, we can work on that, but.
Sure, I'm happy to share with that. Part of the mine, as a lot of mines have, is there's some contamination with arsenic and other elemental contaminants. There's not a lot of like diesel waste product or other mine waste that is sometimes associated with that kind of site, but due to the leaching through to the ore and such, there is some mine influenced, it's considered mine influenced water. And for that reason, it can't be discharged into a stormwater, into the water system. Part of the challenge is that at approximately 300 gallons a minute constantly flows of groundwater seepage into the Harvard pit. That means that water either needs to be evaporated or otherwise remediated, or it will overflow into Woods Creek. So therein lies the challenge. We can't really we can't use that water in its current condition for most purposes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Supervisor Brannon?
Great. I just want to say that this has been one of the most complicated and challenging things since joining the board. It is one of the primary reasons that I really wanted to see your position created in the first place, was because of the complexity of it and my just appreciation for diving in. Anybody, I think the packet's about that thick for the stipulated judgment. It is a very complicated case. The county bought a gold mine. We shouldn't have done that. It was a huge scandal, but then we ended up owning it, and then the issue was ignored, and that water overflowed in that sense or whatnot, and we ended up in basically a court case where they put it into a receivership where a person's monitoring it. And I know this is not perfect, but it's going to be close enough to the accurate, that we are dealing still with a lightly contaminated site that certainly water is valuable in California, but you can't put water with heavy metals on crops. It requires treatment to be able to be drinkable, and then that makes the cost not comparable to what would be otherwise drinking water. And the location of it, meaning that there's not a lot downhill for higher paying uses compared to, say, range water, means that you're not going to pump water uphill. And so it has been a huge challenge. The clay capped area in the back is to try and dry all the rocks out that they pulled out and to reduce some of that seepage of the heavy metals. And so we have a large flat area that is lightly grazed. Probably shouldn't be grazed because of that, but it is. The issue being is that clay cap is part of the legal requirements to make sure water can't get through. So anything that comes in that could come poke a hole is technically a violation of the law. And so how do you use 70 acres where you can't put anything through? I brought up paintball, those inflatable paintball things. I think we could have a hell of a paintball course there. Is great. One of the tasks I know you've had for several years, and one of the most challenging, is the water board. Sorry for pontificating on this. This is my moment. No, it's his moment. The water board doesn't care for any of our feelings. The water board doesn't care what ideas and dreams we have. They don't care how much it costs. They don't care that the court case wasn't very specific on what remediation looks like for the second. All they care about is that basically the water quality is maintained, the monitoring is happening, their butts are covered, and that's the challenge. We have an agency that is not aligned with what we're trying to do, and I'm in full agreement with this, that random man who walked into our board chambers and addressed us just now. There is $5 million sitting in that trust fund. Part of it goes for the monitoring, which we pay a ton of money to, not, in my opinion, a huge amount of work. That is from the court. That is not under our control. I would love to see some of that change. We pay some of the money into the trust fund, some of the money that supports the evaporation efforts and all of that. But I would much rather see some of that as seed funding or planning money to set us up for a gray, a Superfund site, a gray site kind of recovery. There are monies out there. The challenge is not finding the grant money. There's grant money for industrial sites to recover them into things, to use water, to do renewable energy. The problem is we have an unelected, highly bureaucratic, technocratic organization that has all the strings, and every time we come to them with it, it is a request. And so the best thing we can do is have the best, most well thought out request to them. So I will close on that to say that I am very much in support of this extension, because this was kind of a ticking time bomb for a long time. That judgment and trust fund ended. So getting extra time, having such a reasonably small increase on this is huge. So this gives us some breathing room. I know we have in our priority projects kind of thing, or board priorities, large revenue generating projects. I think we have explored this site of what could do that, whether it's industrial or recreational, or there's been ideas in the past. I would love to be in full support of combining that to say, once we get this kind of in the past, where we've now got another 5 years of breathing room, to go forth and let's figure out something and have a plan. Say if we get to the opportunity, if the right grant comes up, we get the right political opportunity, if we have something set up that says this meets everything that the water board wants, then maybe we can get some folks to help push that through, and we would be in a much better position. Right now, we have ideas, but ideas are not adequate for those technocratic kind of agencies. So I'm in support.
I didn't know if you paused, you lost your steam there. All right. Any other comments from my board members, fellow board members? Supervisor Kurt?
Just real quick, kind of, when I read the memo, I had the same question as Steve. Is like, yeah, we've kind of completed phase one. What's the future hold? What can we do with it? What's the plan with that?
Part of the challenge lies in the fact that the ongoing, that water comes, so there's no way to cap it off, to seal it off. The groundwater is going to infiltrate into the pit. So we need to find a water demand that can generate a revenue or can be remediated in a way that either has a revenue that offsets it or is used for, a purpose that, we've looked at solar, we've looked at hydrogen, we've looked at data centers, we've looked at, several industrial type, opportunities in addition to some, real revenue drivers. So where we started with this conversation was what's the concept level feasibility for these types of projects? We went to that with the water board, just kind of like let's get our heads together and come up with a solution. This whole conversation kind of interrupted that because all of those big projects are going to have 5 to 7+ years planning horizons. Okay. And so we've got to know that we are going to be able to have the ability to operate and do risk analyses, do planning documents that are going to be required by county statute or state statutes. So this is the first step to getting to those concept level project feasibility.
I hear you on those ideas for projects, but what about just other simple projects? Does it really come down to they have to be able to utilize that water? Or
they need to be able to do something. What they're doing currently is basically using a big snow blower to blow evaporated water into,
I guess what I'm trying to say, Sean, is the industries that you described, it sounded like they would potentially use a water source. Is there other industries that we can completely get away from that don't need to touch the water source?
We need an industry that either pays a revenue or, to continue to do what we're doing and just waste water forever, or actually has a demand for that kind of water.
My only last comment is because I have a friend who works in water treatment, and he's actually part of these meta centers for AI, and he's doing all the water for a lot of these centers. Has that, because it's not solar, but it's similar, has that been floated internally? Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'll stop my questions. I see you guys are working on it, just throwing things out there.
Supervisor
Campbell. And that was sort of the area that I was curious about is there are two issues the way I see it. One is how to repurpose the property itself, but to me the most pressing issue is the water, because that is actually costing us money. Like, we actually spend money to maintain evaporators to spray the water in the air and evaporate it. It's the worst possible use for that water that I can think of. You ask anybody in, I don't know, Flint, Michigan, like, that water is almost exceptionally clean, just not by the California standards for something of that nature. We could go back. You could drink a cup of it and you'd probably be fine if you drank a cup of it every single day for years, maybe not, I don't know.
If you were to look at an aerial view, you'd think you were looking into an alpine lake. It looks very clear, but it does have contaminants.
Right. But I don't know where I'm going with this, but just the finding a way to get away from the evaporation of the water, to me, should be our top priority, because that is actively costing us money. Now, we're losing opportunity costs by not developing that area, but it's not really costing the county, the taxpayers, any money for it to just sit there. We are missing out on opportunity, but the evaporation is costing them money, and I don't know if a lot of people know that. So, and you mentioned the decision by the county to buy that land. That was in the 90s, so just in case anybody was kind of curious about that. It's a very long-standing issue.
Go ahead, sir.
Good, Chair. Thank you. I'll throw out that if, I know data centers is something that's very complicated right now. I think we have to have projects at some level that support infrastructure. But specific to that, the biggest challenges that they have in this modern environment is power adequacy, bringing their own power, not taking the cheap power off the market, and water. There's other cooling methods, but evaporative cooling is one of the cheapest. And so having an available water source and having almost free land at some level to do solar on that doesn't have to pierce a clay cap, you can just set it on a water ballast, and that is a very promising idea, not for a mega data center, but they are looking at these smaller 15 megawatt type ones that are about 1/10 or 20th of the size of these giant ones. It would be a really desirable project, and I would encourage us, if that ends up working out as we go through this, that could be very good amongst some of the other ideas.
I was going to say, would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make
on the
a motion
item that's on the table here.
On that, so I'll make the motion to approve of item 9 and the staff recommendation.
Second.
All right, so we have a first by Supervisor Brandon, second by Supervisor Campbell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. 4-0-1 is the vote record. All right. All right, so that'll take us to our other business. So if I could, we'll take item number 15 next.
So, Chair, are we waiting for Supervisor Holland to come back in on it?
Yeah, just.
Chair, I was going to ask, could we remove this item because this was discussed and dealt with at the last meeting? It's the same item, and we're hearing it again on the second consecutive meeting.
I did think this was going to come back, but from HR.
No. I think there was some miscommunication. I'll let it's Supervisor Kirk's item. So if you, we can give a quick recap. I think the communication was that he wasn't here. He didn't hear. I don't want to speak for him, so I'll let Supervisor Kirk speak.
Well, my point though is that it was heard and dealt with, and now it's being heard again.
We can say.
No changes.
He can pull it. I think if he wants to give us reasoning why.
No,
or just
my understanding is that the core concern of mine wasn't addressed. So we could probably wrap this up in 5 minutes or less if we just want to knock it out.
Well, I think I echo Supervisor Campbell's position. I think we've already discussed this. So unless there's something new that we're not aware of.
Yeah. So my understanding, we're doing it. Why don't we just do the item? Because my understanding is we have employees who, yes, Karen's come in, the practice has been corrected, but my understanding is we may have employees in positions who currently have not had background checks, who maybe, if those background checks were completed, maybe they wouldn't be in those positions, with sensitive information, with budgets, with grants. So my concern, and because I wasn't here last week, but my concern is that I understand the policy's been corrected, but is there going to be a fix going back in maybe correcting that?
Right.
There's a liability there that I just
I
want to
believe if we are going to discuss it, we have to read the item. I do agree with Supervisor Campbell that I think we should pull it, but if we are going to talk about it, then.
Well, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to tell them what the board did. So the board did give that direction. The board made that decision. This board voted that it was taken care of. Nothing occurred since 2023. We believe that the situation was resolved. So I would encourage pulling it.
I heard that specific issue wasn't resolved.
Okay, then we'll go ahead.
We could be done in a second. I just want to confirm that with staff.
Okay, then we'll go ahead.
Can I motion to table item 15?
I'll second.
How are you guys doing that before we read it?
Yeah, go ahead and read it, and then we'll do your vote.
Okay.
Then I'll look to county council. Go ahead, ma'am.
Item number 15, consideration of directing staff to standardize county-wide employee background checks for compliance and risk management.
So again,
Go
confirming.
ahead. Hold on, Supervisor Brandon.
Chair, based on this being deep in operations and an item we had at our last meeting that I think gave sufficient direction, I would like the motion that we table this item indefinitely. And I think direction's been given and staff answers provided on what's happening.
I'll second that motion.
What direction was given?
The direction was that HR was aware and already implementing this operational level decision, and it wasn't a policy change.
No, but going back and reviewing employees who are hired, who don't have.
It's still not a policy change. It's not a change. It's purely HR doing something which HR is saying that they are already doing.
I think that'd be a county council answer if you go back to existing employees or not. It sounds like you could weigh in, be done, and move on.
So if we have a county council, say we have 20 employees who during this process never had background checks.
So
I want to confirm that we clear up our liability that they're going to go back.
Clarity, you're discussing the merits of the item, but there is a motion
and
a second.
The table.
And there was a second, correct?
The table indefinitely.
Yes, I second.
Okay, and then I'm just asking the county council what the best course is. We can table it, but if we table it, we can bring it, he could just bring it back, so.
If you want some legal advice on this particular situation, the office would prefer to give that advice in a confidential analysis as opposed to on public. There are a lot of labor situations, relative to any situation involving a past employee that would require meet and confer and some other issues on that. But what I heard from last week was that, HR was looking into all those things, so.
Okay. So to be clear, HR is looking into past employees who fell into that, fell through the cracks.
So with that being said,
we all know current employees get background checks.
I know, but there's a motion on the floor to pull this or to table it, because if we table it, it's just going to come back. That's what tabling means, right? Without being a smart ass here. I agree with what you're saying, So the question is.
I don't know if is there a clear definition to table or?
Then I'll make a counter
I
motion.
specifically wanted to table indefinitely,
Yeah,
which
I'll
means
make
that
I'll
this
make a
does not
counter
come back.
motion based on based on council's recommendation. How about we have it come back in a confidential manner to address my concerns?
Like a
If
closed
if
session
you
item?
want to direct the county counsel's office to provide a legal memo on the issues, we can talk with HR and provide that in a confidential board memo.
Sure.
Okay, so we'll take it back. Well, we're going to table it. Well, is there a second to his?
I just want to be clear, you're clear on my concerns, right? We get the hiring practices
Oh, yeah.
fixed.
Yeah.
But we have a batch of employees who
Is there a
don't have
second?
background checks, who might be
That's why-
over grants, who might be working with children,
So
who
Chair, I
might
don't
be
think
working
there's
in
a second to the
finances,
motion.
like that
Yeah,
needs to be
this is why I
dealt
feel
with.
process is important.
Okay, so there's no second.
So we're back to the
Well,
original.
So,
Wait, I got lost in the conversation.
okay, so he's asking for a second to direct county council to contact HR, to come back with a HR or a county council memo to be brought forward in closed session for discussion.
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
it may or may not be in closed session, because the only thing that could be in closed session would be dealing with the labor negotiations. But county council can provide separately to each board member a legal advice memo.
All right. Is that
Yeah,
sufficient?
I'll try that. And if I don't like it, then I'll bring it back.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay.
There we go.
We're discussing.
We are now.
I just.
So we're discussing his motion, or
Yeah.
some,
Specific of bringing it back, I think is somewhat a waste of time to have this prepared and individually brought forward. We often talk about this of not wanting to be in the day-to-day operations. There's occasionally a time we will go figure out why a pothole is not fixed. I stand by that. We are mostly supposed to be at more of the vision level, of the policy level. This seems to be very much deep in the operations, because it's not only something that's operational, it's something that's already happening. And so my concern is where a board member brings an item, which should have their name attached to it, it's from their letterhead. Hearing after a meeting with a staff department head that they're working on something. Let's say Annie's working on something. It's a really great thing. You're going to redo your contracting procurement process. I don't know. I then write that up and say, I'm giving you direction to continue doing the thing that you were going to do, is not a useful thing for us. It doesn't produce anything. And that is, from the last discussion of the item, what I understood is the staff had changed in HR. The policy is clear and being implemented. Staff were aware of this issue and going through the organization. So this goes back to, what is this doing? Directing staff to standardize countywide employee background checks, which we have standardized that for compliance and risk management. I just don't see that there is a change here. It's just saying this is happening and now I'm directing you to do that still.
Okay, so if we're going to keep talking and wasting time, because we could have had this done, the memo
We could
is
have
very.
pulled it.
Hold on, you spoke, I didn't cut you off. The memo is very clear. It says all county employees. I don't know why this is so controversial. When I had a conversation, we know the hiring practice has been corrected. What we have is employees who there was no clear direction whether we were going to go back and do background checks on them. When I asked, that wasn't being done. So I'm giving direction that needs to be done. Because the last thing I'm going to be involved in is a grand jury report where 3 or 4 years from now, we find out we have an employee who is maybe over a grant that shouldn't have been, who is maybe over working with children who shouldn't have been, somebody who was, you get my point. So let's just correct that problem. Let's be clear with HR and our council that needs to be corrected, and they can go and do that. But when I had the conversation, it wasn't happening. So am I clear?
So,
Supervisor Campbell?
may I weigh in?
Please.
You said something earlier that really kind of goes to the point of my issue with this. This was heard. It had a fair hearing on the agenda last week, and now here it is again, and you're pushing for a fair hearing. I wasn't really clear on what this is about. I still am not clear based on what it is. Obviously, you're going for some angle on this, but your statement that if you're not happy with the outcome, you're going to bring it back again in the future anyway, I think is telling to your intentions with this. And so to me, that demonstrates bad faith. And so I'm not supportive of continuing with this based on what you said.
I'll be clear with the outcome I'm looking for. The outcome I'm looking for like the 5th time since you can't read.
Again,
We have a batch of employees who do not have background checks. They need background checks. Let's make sure they get background checks. If they're over things they shouldn't be touching, then HR can address that.
Okay.
Why is it so hard for you guys
So
to understand?
The meeting that you were not present for
This
last
is
week,
crazy.
that issue was discussed and heard and
I
resolved.
had two conversations and it was
May I
not
finish?
clear. I heard it was a circus
resolved-
last week.
It was resolved to the satisfaction of the board members that were present. And so what is your?
So you're clear that
and yet
last, so you're,
that-
Please let him-
you're
please let him
100%
finish.
positive. You're,
And,
okay.
and that,
I've made my point.
that obviously is not good enough for you. And so you have already admitted that you are going to keep bringing this back until you get the outcome that you want. And to
Yes.
me, that shows bad faith.
I will bring it back as long as we have employees who work with
That-
sensitive information who have not had background checks. Until that has been completed or county council has weighed in on it and decided otherwise due to laws or labor laws, then yes. But I'm confident
Well,
that county council and HR will do their job.
You got your grandstanding moment there, so I think your goal is accomplished. So
Thank
can
you.
we move on now?
Yeah, so I believe all we're voting on is county council will send us an email weighing in on this one way or the other, and hopefully that satisfies all the questions. That's all we're voting on here. Right? It might get really resolved because our attorney might quote some labor law that I have no idea about, or nor do I care, that says, oh, you can't do this, or you can do this, or blah, blah, blah. Right? I mean,
To clarify, the
So-
motion, I believe, right, is to temporarily table this, directing council to meet with HR and detail the policy, and then share with each of the five of us individually a write-up on the background, so then it can be brought either in closed or public session for a third consideration.
no, I don't think that's what got said at
Doesn't
all.
need to come back.
That's what I
all
wanted
got
to
said was-
clarify.
No, what got said was, we're not gonna hear this, have the lawyers write us an email concerning this, and hopefully that answers the questions, and if it doesn't, and I said, if that doesn't answer the question, then I might bring it back.
Well, your
If it
motion
answers the
initially was to
question-
bring it back in closed.
No, Mike
we
just
changed it.
summarized it perfectly.
Mhm.
I want to make sure my concerns are addressed. If they are, it'll die. If not, then I'll probably bring something back.
Okay, yeah, that addresses it.
Yeah, so all we're saying is, write us an email about this, way, get back to us.
Okay. Yeah, so for the clerk's of record here, could we clearly state what the motion is? If possible.
What Mike just said. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, so I believe the motion was to direct county council to write an email concerning this item about previous employees and if background checks can or cannot be done according to labor law, blah, blah, blah. Because I definitely don't speak lawyer. So, and distribute to the five of us individually,
Period.
period.
Does that work for you?
That works, yeah.
Okay, so, well, Mike just clearly restated your motion. Mike is now going to second his motion for you.
Well, I have a question to council. Is that the scope of the item we're talking about right now? Again, this is looking at on the agenda, this is to standardize countywide employee background checks.
I
To my
think-
understanding, that is policy or processes. What we're talking about here is not policy or processes. It's going through employees to find if there are
No, I
examples.
think it's
that
clarifying
I-
the policy. Can you, what I heard was, can you do a background check or not? Because let's say, we'll use the sheriff's department, right? You guys have to go through a lot of
Like
background
an
checks.
existing hire, you mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, clearly,
Oh, boy.
clearly you have to pass a level of background check to work in the sheriff's
In
department.
different departments, I don't mean to interrupt the sheriff, but, the sheriff's department does its own background checks with its own investigators, I would assume.
Correct. They were sitting
So
there.
some
that's the
departments
first.
have very established and institutionalized background check procedures, and law enforcement obviously is one of those where you have very good, standards for that.
Yeah, because
So,
I would just use them as an example, like, to work in the sheriff's department, you have to clear a background check. So I don't know if that means if you're an old employee and you transfer in, if you have to do a background check, if none wasn't done, because clearly, I don't know, maybe that's the better question. If you're working in Andy's department and you go to then work in the sheriff's department, and back prior to Karen being in charge of HR, it was up to the department heads if they did them or didn't do them. Would that then constitute having to pass a background check? Because you're clearly an existing county employee, so maybe that can be addressed in the memo as well, maybe that.
yeah, I think that sets up a hypothetical of certain situations. Obviously, if I were the sheriff, I'd want a background check done, and I would, before that transfer was done or whatever, I would have that done. that creates a different hypothetical situation than just looking at employees in their existing positions and deciding what needs to be done in terms, especially if they're permanent employees, what goes on. Those are the types of things that we can talk with HR about and provide some general advice to the board on.
Okay. Can we go on with the vote here and move on with our day?
I've lost track. Have we had public comment?
Oh, God.
All right, any public comment on this? Oh, thank goodness, thank you. All right, so you know what the motion is for that Supervisor Kirk is made through Supervisor Holland. Supervisor Holland, is it seconded? I will call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay.
No.
Abstain?
Abstaining.
Okay. So it's a 2-1 vote.
Okay.
2-2.
No, it's a 3-1-1.
Oh, that's right. My
Like the
it's-
band.
Coffee is not working. All right, so Chet,
Numbers aren't your thing, but it's okay.
no, because
Be clear, you were
I
asking.
said no.
Oh, you did say no.
Oh,
Yeah.
you said, oh, then it is,
Yes.
yeah.
Me and Jeremy both heard
So
the
it
same
fails. So then it goes back to, I believe, the original motion,
I'll go back to your motion.
which would be to table indefinitely, which is seconded, I believe.
Correct. So
Can I ask for clarity? Does that mean,
Tabled indefinitely.
I know, but does that mean, does your motion mean with HR moving forward, if we have 50 employees without background checks, that goes unchecked?
This motion is to table this item indefinitely with the understanding that we've already presented, discussed, and had HR present stats. I think it's a known issue. So that is what this is. It's tabling this item. Has nothing to do with what HR is doing day to day. It has to do with item number 15.
No one's
tabling
answering my
that
question
identif-
yet. If somebody could answer my question, we could have pulled this item, but
Well,
no
no,
one's answering
I
my
think
question.
We answered it last week.
The root of the issue with communication here is you're not being honest with your intentions with this. I don't quite understand what you're trying to achieve with this, but clearly we have HR that's very competent, that's aware of the issue, it's been heard by the board, and yet you're still pushing the issue. So I don't quite understand why, but
Karen, would you like to come up
we
and
have-
you can answer my question?
Excuse me.
Hold on. So
We have other items to discuss, and we should really move on from this.
Okay.
And so that's why I seconded Supervisor Brandon's motion.
So if somebody wants to answer my question about liability. with
There's
the
a motion
county,
on the
Chair,
floor.
can I
So-
call for the vote?
I'll pull it.
Absolutely. All right, so the Supervisor Brandon has called for the vote, acknowledging that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay. No.
Okay, and that passes 3-0. All right. Okay, all right. Item number 16, Madam Clerk. Wow.
Item number 16, consideration of approving an updated 2026 Board of Supervisors meeting calendar.
All right, I believe this was brought up because we were unable to, we've had a lot going on. We've been going late. So I think what is before you is a proposed calendar, expanding our meetings to 4 meetings a month. My recollection is it was going to be 3 meetings a month, the second, third, and fourth. Maybe I heard it wrong, but with that being said, I don't know if we need to have 4 meetings a month.
The recommendation the direction we were given was to adjust the calendar to have first, second, third, and fourth weeks, having a meeting each one of those weeks. And that's what's reflected on this
Okay.
calendar.
Okay. Board?
Yeah, and that is what I remember was every.
Was it?
I don't remember exactly how it was stated, but it was that we do it at least 4 meetings per month. But that being said, I agree with you. I think 3 would do it. But,
Okay. Supervisor Holling?
Are we on questions or comments?
Do we have any questions? Seeing none, I'll public comment. Seeing none, now you get to go.
I think we just leave our days just the way they were. If we want to get out of here quicker, we could just start talking less and maybe get to the point. I will volunteer first to talk less. The hat will be back on next week and less comments will get made. So I would encourage my other 4 that maybe it's our meeting, so if we want to hurry them up, we come prepared, we know what we're going to say, we vote on things, we don't get sidetracked in some stuff we'd like to get sidetracked in. I am not in support of changing our meetings. I feel bad for the citizens. Access to Wallamy has to come down here as much as we love seeing everybody. It does take time out of our staff's time. They have to come here, which they're losing days to working on things that we want them to work on. They got to prepare things. Poor Nicole's got to write 4 times as many notes. I'm in favor of leaving our schedule, just as it's always been, to a month. And if we need to add one, we add one because things have gone sideways. It's not that hard. That is where I'm at with that.
And I'll agree wholeheartedly with my colleague from District 1.
At that point, we might as well got a victory here.
I think that, at the end of the day, staff can't tell us what to do in terms of how we talk about things and how long we talk about them. We are the only ones in any position to govern ourselves where that's concerned. The only one thing that I would add in addition is that we as supervisors need to be more disciplined about what gets on the agenda and pushing staff to add things to the agenda that are not ready for prime time, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
That if items make it to the agenda, they should be prepared, they should be vetted through staff, they should have accompanying documents with them that explain a lot of the baseline information that we can read ahead of time so that we come into this room already prepared and ready to speak briefly about it, hear from the public, and then make a decision. I feel that we've fallen down on that a few times with some of the items that have come up in the agenda. I think the last item is a good example of that. So I think if we're more disciplined with our own comments, if we're more disciplined with what we advocate for being added to the agenda, I think that will resolve a lot of our timing issues.
Supervisor Brandon going to leap into the deep end.
Well, I'd like to make everybody happy by saying we should have twice as many meetings. I've been consistent on this, I think, since I joined the board. I would rather have twice as many meetings that are half as long, and there's a few reasons. One, where we have too long of an agenda, it's not so much just the time being here, I'm a young guy. I think if we're having a meeting till 10 p.m., I'm going to have the advantage, It's more accessible to the public because having fewer items means we can more predictably hit them on time. We have flexibility to staff when items come up, when we have to do a closed session. I don't think we should cut our discussion time. It is kind of the main thing we get paid for, and this is the one forum we're able to actually come and talk about this stuff. It may seem like a waste of time. To me, that is actually the most valuable thing that we can do up here. And I do agree, I think it matches our agenda policies. What we have right now is any board member can bring up items. We also have, items from staff, items from department heads. We don't refer them through a committee system first to then come back. We don't have a true appropriations committee. All to say is this is the one spot where all this stuff happens. So it's no surprise it's longer. If we can get a meeting from 9 to 1 p.m. or 12, 4 times a month, I would rather that than twice a month, 9 to 5. By the point we hit 3 or 4 p.m., it is very hard to predict. As being a former chair, and I'm sure the chair understands, and a lot of people have been chairing here, it gets very hard, and people get upset because then we're late on items or we're keeping consultants waiting or different things. So anyway, I'll throw my hat in with that. I would rather have twice the meetings, half as long, and we can always cancel them if there is no business.
And with all due respect, says the guy who wants to leave us. You hurt us with that.
I'm going to double the meetings,
and then leave.
And then I'm going to leave.
Yeah, all right.
And you're talking more, you guys.
Yeah, all right. So
wait, I want to say my 2
twice
cents.
the meetings,
I was
twice
gonna
as
open
long.
up the public comment, but I already did that.
Every time that we add meetings, they're just as long as the meetings that we're trying to get away from being long. So I'm absolutely against doubling the meetings. We should do 2. If we need a third, we do a third. We just got to, I think we lose a ton of time in our consent calendar. Go look at San Diego State. They have 100 things, or San Diego County. They have 100 things on their consent, and they just, boom, they're done. We do consent for an hour. So there's ways that we can mitigate it. We just got to do it.
All right, so if we do nothing, the calendar stays the same. Okay.
I'm going to make a motion that we do not change our calendar.
We do nothing?
We do nothing.
I'll second.
All right. Any comments?
I can't wait to see that in the newspaper
Karen?
heading that county votes to do nothing.
I know, I'm just giving you a little grief here. No.
Sometimes that's the right move.
All right, with that being said, so you made the motion, so Holland made the motion, Kirk made the second. The official vote is that this board does nothing for this item.
Newsmaker of the week, there we go.
That's right. All right, with all that being said, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Is that 5-0-0? All right.
Count.
Yeah. Matt?
Much against popular belief.
I was All right, with that being said, Madam Clerk, would you please read the three closed sessions, items 12, 13, and 14?
Item number 12, closed session, Public Employee Appointment, Authority Government Code 54957B1, Community Development Director. Item number 13, closed session, Public Employee Performance Evaluation, Authority Government Code, Section 54957B1, Title, Chief Probation Officer. Item number 14, closed session, Conference with Labor Negotiators, Roger Root, County Administrator, Karen McGettigan, Human Resources Director / Risk Manager, and Deb Showman, Human Resources Manager, Authority Government Code, Section 54957.6, all bargaining units.
County Council, do we anticipate
Mr. Chairman, we are not anticipating any announcements out of closed session, so the board may adjourn following closed session.
Before we do that, any public comment?
I have a public comment about the Community Development Director. I have a few just sort of logical demands, like enforcement of the law. I would really like the new Community Development Director to be aware of the Title 17 update and to go over it and make sure it's correct as far as the standing with the state. I've run into a couple of odd comments, like maybe it was never submitted and okayed, something like that. I don't know if it's correct or not. And also, public health and safety was eliminated, and another chapter that was added to Title 17, or I guess it's not a chapter, but was sort of a dictatorship sort of thing that would make Putin happy. There's some really strange updates, the missing of government codes, things like that. All those things the Community Development Director should have reviewed to begin with, should have known that those ordinances should have been in there because they're supporting state law, stuff like that. They can really hurt the community, like us. So making it really hard to go through state ordinances and make sure that the county ones matched them, which in most cases they didn't. And also there was a few odd little things, like on the charts, it says permitted is something like ministerial. You don't need a discretionary entitlement. That's true, but if you still have to obey ordinance codes and state laws, like if you're going to, grading is obviously permitted, but grading on 20 acres without a site development permit or a conditional use permit, something like that, is not permitted. So it's not a ministerial situation. Those things need to be clarified. That little comment on those charts needs to be removed before the county gets sued and loses a ton of money. So those little inadequacies and incorrectness, they need to be fixed, or it's going to be expensive for the county if some smarty person comes in and takes advantage of that. It's very sloppy. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further comments? Seeing none, what time do we want to meet at the CEO conference room? CAO conference room? Was that? That's what I'm saying. So, 1 o'clock?
Sure.
All right, 1 o'clock in the CAO conference room. No, I got to let him go. I have to take him to lunch. Oh, no. I was told to no longer delaying lunches. 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock.